right-hand side yet again. Yes, he's trying to pressure out the solo lane. We saw him do it in game 1 and a little bit in game 2. His goal is to kind of just pressure out Snowflake. Terra.
Oh my god. Oh my god! Brian Codex out here soloing Alfredo, the support, taking down the ADC. That's gotta be a clip that we throw somewhere, man. That was absolutely bonkers. Alfredo not feel the global ult, but she's here despite that. And we might see Apollo able to come as well. The final basic as Kairos tries to finish it off with the dash, but Fuzzy Clay did this, but regardless, it will be a Primal Fury going the way of Fuzzy and the Wuzzies, and now over 10,000 gold up before 20 minutes.
Welcome everybody to the AGL Savages quarterfinal between Gridlock and Gamerhub Allstars. I am Dinosaur, joined by Ted Listens sometimes.
Hey, how are you guys doing tonight? I'm very excited to see this Gridlock match. I've known Gridlock for a while, and excited to see how they work out against this Gamerhub All-Star team. How you doing, Dino?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. We saw some interesting Smite games at the pro level, some interesting picks and bans. Do you think we'll see some of the same picks and bans, or you think maybe we'll see more of the traditional, good picks and bans?
So the nice thing about when SPL isn't like creating their own meta as far as like picking the same gods every single set is that it means that there's a lot of diversity in the god pools in general. So that means that even at the amateur level, which is where we are in the AGL, that we can see a lot more comfort picks rather than meta picks. They're not necessarily, because there's no clear guidance towards what's the most valuable pick. There's more guidance of build paths and focusing on how you're the most effective in team fights and in laning phases. So there's a lot more god pool for people to choose in general, and I think that we'll probably see something like that here today in the Savages division.
Of course, I joke, but I, in all honesty, I mean, we're seeing a lot of assassins show up in that duo lane. What do you think is driving that?
What's driving it is that burst damage is kind of nutty. We learned earlier in the season that crit was so nutty because of the fact that you're able to just make an enemy disappear in 3 autos. You're able to make them disappear in just a small amount of time. And with the Mace Tree being so valuable right now, with Transcendence being so valuable, I mean, maybe not out of the ADC role, but out of ability-based gods in general, it allows hunters or assassins that are ability-based to, like a set. There's a couple different gods that can really play as a dual lane and be safe, but also be able to do a ton of damage. So I just think it's the buffs to the Mace Tree and some of the lacking value that you get out of the Bow Tree right now, unless you're a very high auto attack god like an Izanami potentially.
Yeah, it seems like Smite goes through these rock, paper, scissors sort of phases, right?
Right.
You have crit beats this, burst damage beats, attack speed beats, not necessarily in that order per se. And I think that the way that rock, paper, scissors plays out is kind of due to item buffs, right?
Right.
But I think we don't have to wait any longer, as we can just move right on over to that picks and bans screen. Yes, sir. As I lean myself slightly over here so I'm nice and centered into the camera.
You look great, by the way, right now, Dino. You look so good.
I do. It looks like my camera is a little blurry, but that's probably for the best, honestly.
It's probably because the sexiness can't come through in 4K,
right.
So it's just like, your looks overcome the ability of your cameras. That's all it comes down to.
I'm radiating and it is affecting the camera negatively. Speaking of radiating, maybe somebody you wouldn't think radiates. Persephone being picked up there, Queen of the Underworld, being banned right out of the game. Ted, do you want to talk a little bit about Persephone, where she stands currently in the meta? Obviously, she had some changes a while back. We hadn't seen her because she was also glitched and things like that, so she was comp banned, and now she's starting to make rounds for the past about month or so, I would say. And we've got to see her here and there. How do you think she fares up?
I think she does a ton of damage, and her plants being able to just consistently go whether they hit a target or not, and continue to do damage. It's very challenging to play against it because she controls space very well. As a mid laner, that's one of the things that you want to do is be able to damage and control space, and she does that really, really good, especially with her ultimate. I think Gridlock gets a lot of value out of it because if they think that Gamerhub is going to go with any other space controlling or CC burning ults, maybe like a Daji, like a Cerberus, or like really heavy CC, maybe like a Geb. They have the potential to not have to worry about that coming out of the mid lane necessarily because it's such a big team oriented ultimate. So Gridlock is probably just saying, we don't want to play against it right now, and we're not going to pick it. So let's just get it out of the picture, and then we can get to the picks that we want to make.
Yeah, well, speaking of control, Odin was taken off of the table, and also Artemis. Artemis, maybe you don't think necessarily as a control guy, but I'm sorry, I just say Artemis, Artio.
Yeah, the wrong art, but it's
Right,
yeah,
right,
it's
right.
definitely
Is
art.
one of the arties. Okay, one of the
Hmm.
arties.
Right, right, right.
But with that cripple in her kit, she can certainly control team fights, especially if you have gods with lots of dashes or movement sort of capabilities. That'll
Mhm.
stop them. So we see her taken away, and unsurprisingly, the most balanced god in the game, hands down, Tiamat being banned away.
Yeah, I just want to say, I mean, we had a game throughout the season. We played against an RDO that went Fighters Mass support and was just an oppressive soul in the duo lane. Made it so that she did a ton of damage, and then also made it so we couldn't farm. It's super oppressive. Obviously, they're probably not going to build Fighters Mask now, but RDO has a lot of value and is able to just uh, distract and disorient everything that a team wants to do once they want to engage. So it's very normal to see her banned out if they want to be able to dive on a single opponent and be able to do a lot to them. And again, like you said, the TM mat, just so much in the kit, so much team fight capability. It makes sense to get it out as well.
She's got everything and the kitchen sink. Uller
Mhm.
being taken away there, as well as Geb. Geb traditionally has been seen as this low pressure pick, sort of very
Mm-mm,
late game
mm-mm,
focused,
mm-mm,
and now a slight
mm-mm.
change to his ultimate seems to maybe perhaps turn things around for the roly poly boy.
Man, you'll probably hear from Narwhal when he comes to the cast itself, but he the solo laner has been playing Geb out of the solo lane, and that god just does so much damage. It deletes carries, it deletes or at least debilitates your front line, and is able to just do so much, and as well as provide so much utility to your team. Geb at this point in time is definitely banned worthy out of the top six, and it makes sense that Gamerhub gets rid of it when they don't have the first pick, and Gridlock can now not select it.
Yeah, let me tell you, I knew Geb was good when I was 6-0 5 minutes into the game as a Geb in my ranked games. So
Hmm.
also probably my opponents weren't very good, but still pretty good that I could put out that kind of damage. And
Sure.
speaking of damage, Cerberus certainly can do his fair share, and we will see that locked. More than likely solo laner.
More than likely, yeah, I would definitely agree. Has a lot of value there. Has the ability to build Lotus Crown and be able to steal the healing from gods that build Gaia and such, and steal heals in general. The Hells makes a lot of sense because the cleanse and being able to be a second half type of comp kind of reveal a little bit too much with the Serb, saying that you want to be so CC heavy. But and then the Hell being able to follow up with that. I mean, you could also build like a Chiron off of that, right? You could also get gods that have other cleanses. But the Serb maybe chosen a little early, maybe more value there, but that's where they were going for comfort. And but the Susano and the Hell, Susano I feel like does a lot of damage right now with the maces and everything going on. And I feel like Susano is a very good high pressure pick and can make a lot of influence across the map if they play it properly.
Yeah, Susano, I think, is one of those gods that has more value, perhaps, in comp than you would think. Like when you think of Susano, you're thinking of those auto cancels, but
Mm,
really, he's very, very good at setup, and he's very good at chasing down opponents that are tricky to get away, like this Jing Wei, perhaps, or maybe even Ratatosker at times.
mhm,
Interesting to see them opt to go for the Jingwei. Jingwei is always kind of like that one fallback kind of ADC, right? Like, what
mhm.
do we play here? I don't know. She's safe. Let's go for Jingwei.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure what they were going for with the Jingwei so early. Maybe they just didn't want to pick something else. They wanted to get better counter matchups for their other roles. So they said, let's get a Jing where we know that that's safe and they can get out of stuff. There are other gods that can do that, though. I think that, like, I really feel like Danzaburo right now in the carry role is very strong. I feel like other gods that with global rotations like Chernobog and Apollo are very strong right now because um, it feels like a very team oriented meta that we're in right now. But Jingwei providing a ton of safety, being able to create influence and potentially build into that crit path that's going through right now with a certain meta build. But Jingwei's not a bad pick. It's just I guess if you're saying that we're gonna play safe out of duo, maybe that's a good pick for them for Gridlock.
Yeah, I think like for safe pick currently, my mind always goes to Heimdall, right? Heim feels very safe, can do a lot of damage with that Bifrost, and then he does a lot of damage just out of his basics alone. So building those maces kind of feels good on him. But I think that a lot of times maybe we get too focused on what the meta build is, right? Like we don't need to necessarily pick things just because they're meta. Uh, Other things still work for sure, and so.
Sure, sure.
So we'll see how that goes. I think I've seen on Twitter Frost has talked about, first person who builds Devos, the Devos build, who's gonna win the SPL. And so we'll see again back to that
Hey,
sort of rock, paper, scissors play.
I was watching Barracuda earlier play today, and he was building Devos, so it's definitely being tested right now for sure. But
Yeah, I wouldn't
yeah, I
be
mean,
surprised.
sure, sure.
We do see Athena. Was very, very hot coming into season 8 and sort of cooled off, but we see Athena pop up every now and again, Ted. What do you think is kind of drawing players back to this Athena pick?
This is the support being comfortable on Athena. I don't if Athena was a top tier god, they would top pick it, right? Because they had second pick. They would have picked it before the Helm Susano, but they didn't. They're picking it before the second ban phase because they fact that the support feels so confident on it and wants to be able to set up for their team as they can with the Susano. Now Susano and Athena both have their pulls or their taunts, which means that they're burning beads on a rapid pace, and Hell's able to also keep their Athena and their Susano healthy. So it's a really nice draft, a lot of really nice setup on the same side of Gamerhub Allstars. I just think that the Athena is more of a individual comfort pick for their support who wants to play aggressive and who wants to rotate and get to fights as fast as possible. And they've played it many times before.
We're looking at the Rama hover, and I could potentially see maybe a nice combo between a Susano pull or Athena taunt. Makes Ram's ult a little bit easier to confirm the damage on, so that's always a possibility. Plus, Ram just a very, very strong ADC right now.
Yeah, I mean, his objective secure from a distance is so nice. He could be completely out of a fight and ult behind purple and be able to still hit Gold Fury or Fire Giant or Pyromancer, on the opposite side of the map. He has versatility where he's able to really do a lot of early damage, clear really fast, and be able to rotate and farm very efficiently. He does have some mana control issues unless you're building into some type of mana MP5 items, but you normally don't. Maybe you're going to build into a dominance at one point if you're going that path, which seems to be pretty common right now. But aside from that, Rama has the ability to farm safely and kind of keep himself out. He's got to be really careful with Ratatasker, though. If Ratatasker decides that they're just going to sit in duo, Rama's going to have a really hard time.
Yeah, Rama also gonna have a hard time with this Ymir, as almost all of Gamerhub All Stars picks are that Ymir wall gonna be able to isolate targets, and I don't think there's very many get out of jail free cards on the side of Gamerhub, so we might even perhaps see a Phantom Veil picked up, and they're gonna double down by picking Achilles. No, we don't need any leaps, says Gamerhub All Stars.
Man, I know Gridlock a little bit. I know Baba Yaga. I know Coleman, aka Deku. Man is a fragger on this Baba Yaga. He is one of the most competent players I've seen on this Baba Yaga. He plays it so well. Um, I like the Ymir to be able to control as much space as that they can. The only really one that can get out of that is maybe the Sano. But and the Rama with his but being able to wall off the team and be able to control the team fight. The Kabrakan's very scary though. Kabrakan's such a zone control, such an immediate pressure god. It's very interesting to see that come out and then eventually be able to affect all of Gridlock. Uh, this is kind of a toss up here, though. I mean, as far as drafts right here, I mean, I could see pressure going either way. It seems more so that it's off of who plays their comp properly rather than who has the better comp in this situation.
Yeah, I can certainly see this one going either way. It really is difficult to pick one way or the other. I think that this Ymir pickup was very, very smart for them, but again, you have to be able to utilize that. And I think that actually the Cabrakan sort of matching that block off potential does sort of, make things a little bit more trickier for Gamerhub, Allstars, and Gridlock. And so I think you're right. It's a toss up for me too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, and I think I also heard that Gridlock was playing with a couple subs here. No excuses for them because they're supposed to play with who they're supposed to play with, but they're definitely not the full roster at the current time. So I'm curious to see if they can be successful without their starting lineup.
Well, Ted, we will find out if they are successful right now as we throw it to Frog and Narwhal on the cast. Take it away, guys.
Thank you so much, Dash, for that fantastic analysis. And these drafts, I mean, I absolutely love what I'm seeing from both teams here. And the first thing I want to point you towards, Narwhal, is this mid lane matchup. We've seen a little bit of hell. She showed up in the soul lane first, the first time we saw her on the scene, and ever since then has had some success in the mid lane. But Baba Yaga is on the other side of the screen, and that is not a pick that we have seen often, if at all. And so Hell popping back up and Deku bringing out maybe a comfort pick for him in game number 1. What are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, so you mentioned the Hell. Hell did get a couple of nerfs coming into this patch, a little bit less healing coming out of her. So that's going to slightly impact, when we come to the team fight phase, when we come to this first wave meeting up here in mid, because Hell used to be able to just, she's just going to 3 heal the wave and then switch to her dark stance and clear it. She's just going to out clear you because her minions are healing while yours aren't. But when you look at the Baba Yaga, Baba's really good for application of anti-heal, which is going to be something that is definitely going to need to be picked up sooner rather than later for Gridlock. So, that's a good pick there. Deku, I know for a fact that he does love this Baba Yaga pick, so excited to see how he manages it here in the mid lane.
Well, we see some initial poke coming out of both teams here in that mid battle, and we saw that same thing over in the dual lane. Another engagement over in the dual lane, getting pretty low. Is the Rama forced to roll away? I don't think we'll be able to finish up the killer-ass basic Rye guy picking up that first blood.
Yeah, that entire amount of aggression came off the big double freeze there from that Ymir, just setting up massive amounts of damage, and the Jingwei able to get the dash to chase the Rama rollout, and still had the 1 up there from the Jing to knock the Rama up and secure the first one there.
Definitely not who I expected to be getting pressure over in that dual lane. I mean, you think of Rama as able to hit the whole wave with those astral arrows, and Athena definitely not slacking on the pressure, but it looked like Rogue Pie really on this Ymir was the one facilitating that first blood, just the damage and the CC coming out. It looked like almost 75% of Rama's HP bar was taken out by Rogue Pie on this Ymir.
Yeah, I mean, that's you brought it up. Rama and Athena should have had the lane pressure, but again, it looks like another fight is breaking out here with a good double freeze coming out from you.
Yeah, great wall, but Rogue Pie in a little bit of trouble himself. Astral arrows through the wall do a little bit more damage, but he's able to escape scot-free, so it'll just be a little bit of poke for the time being. But already seeing some aggression from both teams over towards this dual lane. Here's the first invade of the game, over on the blue side of the map, over on the solo side of the map, and that is an engagement that I would love to move over to as well, as we see 2 more Guardians over there yet again. I mean, I feel like for the last several weeks now, we've seen the Guardians be the mainstays over in this solo lane. In this matchup, we've got Cabrakan versus Cerberus. We've seen Cerberus quite a bit more, I would think, but Cabrakan, I definitely think, can have success into some of these characters on the side of Gridlock, especially this Ymir lacking the movement ability standardly, and Ratatonsker only having the dash. So those walls could definitely get some value as we move into the team fight stage.
Yeah, especially in, Horrors of the Deep there on that Kabrakan. I've seen them play a few times as well. That's another comfort pick for him coming out of that solo lane. Kabrakan typically known as the lane bully. Cerberus, has decent lane pressure as well, but it's really no match for Kabrakan, who can just sit here and do this. He can just sit here and Tremor, and then you have to turn and run away from the wave. You can kind of sit on the outside of it, but even then it's just barely not enough. As Cerberus did tick over to 5 there. That would have been interesting to see if he decided to ult that Kabrakan there. That would have been a great opportunity for a kill.
Yeah, looks like he was a little bit too low on mana to make use of that opportunity, as we already see Hearts of the Deep getting the better of this early laning phase, which I don't think is a huge surprise. I agree with you there. Kabrakan seems to have the early lane pressure over towards that lane. But I mean, I'm interested what your thoughts are on either of these two junglers, Susano or Ratatoskr. As actually Susano finds himself in a little bit of a rough spot here. Wall may put him in a bad spot. Great cleanse from Hell, though, may get him out. Athena ult on the way in, will dissuade any aggression for the time being. And it looks like they will disengage there. It was almost a pick. Susano in a little bit of a rough spot. But, I mean, that brings me back towards these junglers. Where do you think the optimal path to victory is for these teams? Through the duo lane, through the solo lane, maybe focusing around these mid lanes. But both of these junglers known for their early game, as they're not late game slouches either, but with this semi-global ultimate from the Ratatoskr, the variable movement from the Susano, I mean, they're both can be slippery and can be anywhere at any given moment. So I'm interested what your thoughts are on how these games should try to be controlled from either jungler.
Yeah, this is a real tough one to kind of put a point on there for the jungle aspect, because Susano is going to have a really hard time locking down any of these carries early. Yeah, because he pulls the Jingwei. Jingwei can just dash out of it. Deku on this Baba Yaga's pull knock up immune when she starts her dash. And then if Susano gets on her, then she just ults and has the knockback as well. So it's going to be really hard for Susano, I think, early here to find good opportunities. He's going to have to wait for a lot of this damage to be down, or a lot of these movement abilities to be down before he looks to engage. Ratatoskr might have a little bit easier time, but this is what I want to see. The Athena, I think, is going to have a much better time facilitating these engagements.
But it's a blink from Rogue Pie, trying to give his ADC a little bit of help, and does succeed in forcing Athena to back off there. But they do get the beads on the Jingwei, which has to be something that gets called out going forward, and may give Dr. Phil a good opportunity to maybe look towards this dual lane, as he is waiting for those movement abilities, but could also make use of those beads being down.
Yeah, exactly. And we do see a little discrepancy coming out from the ADCs already with their build paths. Rama electing to go into the Iqbal, and Jingwei going Crusher here.
A little bit of a fight over in the Soul lane. Trying to get a solo kill is Hearts of the Deep, but not able to finish off that kill. Rat comes in to save the day, and no kills will go back and forth. And still, the only kill on the board is that dual lane First Blood.
Yeah, Susan looking to come in here. May just end up picking up the buff. Oh no, he's blinking over the wall.
He's going for it. Ultimate into the enemy and trying to get the kill onto Slight, and will finish off that kill. First kill goes to Gamerhub.
Rat's in the air. Rat just electing to get out as a solo kill coming out in the duo lane. Rama getting the better of the Jingwei there. I think that's the better power spike there with the Iqbal over that Crusher. Jingwei not a great applicator of that Crusher, so Rama taking advantage of his power spike over this Jingwei.
Yeah, I mean, and not only the Iqbal, I think, does give him an advantage, but it's also just Rama versus Jingwei. I mean, I feel like Rama, by default, sort of as his character is designed, is meant to have a little bit more pressure over there, meant to poke maybe a little bit better. One of the things known for is hitting that wave while at the same time able to poke his ADC opponent, whereas Jingwei doesn't really have the ability to do that as easily. But I will say, even after we do see that solo kill, it's relatively even in the gold, with Gamerhub having a small lead. 1,000 gold at this stage of the game means something, but doesn't mean a whole lot. And really, it's only been picks so far, right? So the first objective I'm looking at is going to be towards this left side of the map, but That might not be the page that all the teams are on, is that Gold Fury Scorpion still stays alive at this point in the game, and it's actually the Fire Giant Scorpion that's been taken out instead. So it may be that Pyromancer instead that's the first objective of the game.
Yeah, that Fire Giant Scorpion, a little bit safer to take as the first Scorpion, because, you know, if you immediately lose a fight after it here in these first few minutes, you know, the objectives are there, but they're a little bit Fire Giant. You're obviously not taking a super early Fire Giant, you know, pre 15 minutes. You'd have to have a pretty substantial lead to try to get that. Whereas Gold Fury you can easily get, as Gorp does end up going down. I'm interested to see, you know, we see the Pestilence already coming out from the Cerberus, which is a good pickup. You know, get your anti-heal online early rather than later. So that's always a good positive to see. And Rat building into this tier 2 mace, potentially either going to be the Jotuns or even the Brawlers beat Stick to start with. I'd probably like to see the Brawlers come out first. You know, just if you're too late on your anti-heal, you're too late to win the game most of the time.
Well, yet another blue buff invade. On the way over is Athena, but it's that Cerberus ultimate that gets forced out first. A great taunt will keep him in place. Heroic come in from the sky, and it forces Cerberus into the Kraken ultimate, trapped between the wall, but nobody's targeting him. He may be able to get on the backside, but Hearts of the Deep cleans it up. First kill of this engagement may find another, but it's actually a disengage from Gamerhub. That's the second time now that Slight has fallen.
Yeah, really good ult there from Horrors of the Deep. Locked in that Kraken perfectly. He literally had no way that he could go to get out of it because he was cornered on the other side there by the Susan and the Athena. So really good lockdown potential there, as you know, Cerberus already jumped to try to save his blue buff. So I'm looking at Gamerhub, and they're definitely looking to put pressure over on this solo lane side, which, you know, is the little bit easier side for them to kind of put the pressure, because Jingwei is able to, you know, play relatively safe for the most part. She does have her beads back up now. She's got her ult, so she's got a lot of that, you know, Jingwei, classic Jingwei safety that we like to talk about.
Classic Jingwei safety is right, often talked about as the safest character in the game, and certainly the safest hunter, maybe up there with Hachiman, but I mean, you've absolutely seen it from Dr. Phil, not a presence on this left side of the map essentially at all, sort of just letting his ADC be the leader of that lane, already picking up a solo kill for himself. But it's now the Gold Fury, spawned up on the map, as that Gorp did get taken down a little bit earlier. And we see both objectives, both early objectives, now on the map for either team. So we'll see if we get a fight going here first. I'm wondering your thoughts on who needs to, which team needs to focus around which player, right? I mean, we have a small lead on the board for the support role, and the biggest lead on the board for the solo lane from Gamerhub. But I mean, is it really necessary for them to rotate him all the way over for this Gold Fury fight, or do you think they can win it without him?
Well, yeah, they could probably win it without him. If I'm Gamerhub Allstars, I'm looking at my level 12 Kraken that already has Genji's completed and is almost done with his mystical mail. I definitely want him over for this fight. You know, he's got the lead, as you know, if he comes over and even if he just gets a kill or you just get the Gold Fury, it's a worthwhile investment. Whereas you know, this Cerberus is going to have to stay on the solo lane side as a bit of a dual lane fight
over in the dual lane. Roll in from Rama, and it will get Athena has the chance to help out, but a good taunt will be used on the Ratatosker instead. Stuns, forces out Rama beads, but doesn't get up into the air in time, and it'll be a double kill for the Rama instead. Doesn't have the damage, I think, to chase out Rogue Pie, but man, they stepped to Wrench, and Wrench stepped right back.
Yeah, exactly. Wrench there did have that Aussie completed for that fight, so he's got the little bit of lifesteal coming out as well, and a little bit of off-kilter engagement there for Gridlock. They just kind of conveyor belted into the Rama and wasn't able to lock him down. But again,
like Rogue I wanted to step in here, but I think he gave up his life maybe for free.
Yeah, Kraken ended up making the rotation, ends up being worthwhile. Cerberus kind of made a half rotation, rotated to mid lane, so that's not really the greatest there for that Cerberus. You know, he could have just stayed over in that solo lane, gotten some more farm, because that's kind of what you want to take advantage of. You know, when you have these down times, these little bit of you know, you're behind your enemy solo laner, and they can make these rotations early. You kind of just need to stay over here and try to get the farm to get caught back up. So little bit of a questionable decision rotating to mid there, but you know, Kraken doing Kraken things, made the rotation, helped assist on the kill and the Goal Fury.
Well, a big win for Gamerhub there to start off the mid game, and now that lead has exploded to 4,500, or maybe just 4,000 for the time being, excuse me. But they're off to it. I mean, they have that gold lead, they have the experience lead as well at 5,500 leads in a couple different roles, the most notable one perhaps being that solo lane. And I want to see where they look next, right? The Pyromancer's on the map, but a lot of teams at this stage of the game tend to look to find pressure through picking up some of those tier 1 towers. Is that where you expect them to go next?
Yeah, potentially. You know, this solo lane tower's on its last breaths as it is. As we see Athena ult getting forced out, Susano getting in a little bit of trouble there with the Ratatosker, but you know, you have a lot of pressure over here on the solo lane side already, so that tower is going to go down to minions, which just kind of opens up this Pyromancer, which should be for free. Rogue Pie here may come up and contest, but we know how that went last time for him.
He'll try and step up, does have a little bit of steal potentially if he's left alone, but forced to back out here. Hearts of the Deep using his zoning abilities and makes his presence known. And they'll pick up that second objective as well. I will say props to the Athena. I feel like that Defender of Olympus was almost instant.
Yeah, definitely paying attention to the map, which is one of the harder things for good Athena players, you know, that separate good Athena players from great Athena players, is paying attention to your carries when they're getting engaged on. You know, Susano there was even half health at that point, but fighting coming out under this tier 1.
Yeah, blinked onto Wrench, gets the beads forced out, but it looks like they'll be satisfied to leave after that. But Athena's not satisfied at all. Gets the taunt in, forces the beads from Jingwei. Third shot, looking to hit, does hit. Wrench picks up that one. Rogue Pie trying to gift his ADC a kill, ends up putting him in the dirt.
Yeah, and you know, a good turnaround there from the Rama.
Narrator dialogue. Okay,
targets, but
narrator
again,
exiting
Athena
narrator.
being at the right place at the right time, and taking full advantage of of the little bit of engagement there. As you know, I'm just now noticing Ymir ended up going this Gauntlet of Thebes second item, not first overall. So he's way behind the ball with getting that stacked up, whereas Athena already has her stacked and a Pridwin online.
Yeah, definitely a little bit behind the 8 ball. I feel that at this stage of the game, it may have been better off for him to not go it at all if he was going to go at second item, especially at 4 levels down, which is where he is right now. But
yeah, this is such a hard point of the game to get stacks on that item, because you're rotating around. A lot of people are trying to fight as you know, Gamerhub Allstars here grouping up around this tier 1 in mid.
yeah, 3 members here, 4 members. Kabrakan on the backside looking to stun out Baba Yaga, but she does get that dash off. That allows Susano to get the pull in, but he's not willing to engage. Jet streams out, but the solo laners are now both in the mid lane. Slight is rotated over, and it looks like Gamerhub do not want a piece of that after they failed that initial engage. And one thing I will say now that we're in the mid lane is we haven't gotten a chance to really talk about these mid laners. Both of them 0, 0, and 0 across the board, and yet they're both the highest levels in the game outside of Wrench on this Rama, who has 4 kills. They've just been farming it up here in the mid lane.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what both of these teams want from their mid laner to do. You want your Baba Yaga to get all these items online so she can just burst you down with insane amounts of damage. You want your Hell to just get as much farm as possible so she can try to out-heal the damage that's going to be coming out from Baba and from the rest of the team. Plus, I mean, Hell damage is nothing to really slack at either. She does surprisingly amounts of damage for how much she's able to heal as well. So, I mean, both of these teams, you know, play into kind of what they want their mid laners to do right now.
Well, we are getting to that point in the game where people are hitting level 12, and we get a chance to see some of those second relics. Cerberus about to pick up his, as he probably looks to back under this tier 2 tower. But what I'm focused on is the enemy solo laner picking up this meditation from that solo lane role. And for a Kabrakan that's looking to be maybe in the front line more than the back line, this seems like a weird pickup to me.
Yeah, I kind of would have liked to see a beads come out from this Kabrakan. You know, there's a ton of CC that can easily be applied to him if he tries to go on, you know, either the Jingwei, the Ymir is probably going to be standing right there, the silence fields from Baba Yaga, the stun from Ratatosker, the knock up and stun from Cerberus. So interesting to see the meditation get picked up. Maybe would have liked to see that on Athena, and maybe you know, if you're Cabrakan, maybe you pick up the Sunder because you're going to be one of the ones that's going to be able to do a lot more damage. But he's definitely going to provide extra healing for his team, although the enemy team is going to be building into anti-heal at the same time. So I think that's a questionable pickup considering you already have a bunch of healers. The enemy team is clearly building into anti-heal already. And I'm not going to be surprised once this Ymir ticks over to level 12 to see them pick up a Cursed Donk and hopefully upgrade it right away to deal with all this.
I definitely agree on that take there. A little bit questionable from Horrors of the Deep, but we do see that Sunder come out of the Athena. Very classic relic to line up with the taunt from that character, so not super surprised to see that picked up. And we see the beads on the opposition soul laner, so does want to be a little bit more safe. We'll see the Gold Fury picked up for now, already at half HP. Gamerhub has the leash on the objective, is already forced out the carry, but Rogue Pie stepping up almost unchecked. That Cabrakan isn't in a position to zone him as he was last time, instead forcing out the Jingwei ultimate, but that's given them an advantage in this fight. Not nearly as safe now will Jingwei be for the rest of this engagement, and the Gold Fury picked up once again. You don't have eyes on this, but both tanks looping around the back, looking to get engaged. Athena taunting and engage on the support. Or excuse me, the soul laner sundered already, and it's actually the support in the back line now who's under a little bit more pressure. Rogue Pie as far away from his team as he can possibly be, but Ratatosker into the air and pulled back is slight first death in this fight. And we'll see where Ratatosker chooses to land. Get some damage onto the Susano, trying to get it out is him on the way, but a good wall will keep him for the time being. And people are low health bars, trying not to fall. A blink away will save Ratatosker for the time being. And Deku actually picks up another kill on Wrench. And it looks like Rogue Pie will fall towards the end of this fight, but with Wrench falling, I'm not sure if they have enough to do this Gold Fury.
Yeah, you can go ahead and take a break there from that wild fight that we just had, Frog. Really interesting engagement. You know, we saw Rogue Pie on that Ymir kind of just loop entirely around behind, you know, towards the red side Scorpion there, and really just kind of put, as we see Deku get just taunted and blown up in mid lane. That's that hell damage coming out with that Conduit Gem and Rada Tahuti already built up. But, you know, with that fight, you know, it really made it really split. Gridlock had a really good pincer coming on for Gamerhub, but Rogue Pie was just a little bit too far away from the team to fully complete the pincer and make some of the characters turn around. So good job from Gamerhub to just kind of push forward and take advantage of the space that they created.
Well, they're back on the Gold Fury now, and this time it looks like Gridlock is not in a position to contest. I don't think they have vision on it, and so they'll just let this one go down for free. And Gamerhub will extend their lead to now 5,000, solidly ahead of the enemy team. But that fight, I mean, towards the first Gold Fury, or at least the first Gold Fury fight right there that we saw recently, it looked a little bit disheveled, a little bit disorganized for Gamerhub. Definitely not as clean as we've seen it from them perhaps the rest of the game. And to me, I think that's a little bit of a disconnect between Horrors of the Deep and the rest of his squad pulling the Gold Fury. The last couple times an objective's been seen, Rogue Pie has tried to step up, tried to be a nuisance in the backline, and in the past he has not succeeded because of this presence that Horrors of the Deep on this Cabrakan has been giving off. But this time he chooses to give his focus elsewhere, and it seriously changes the fight. Gamerhub still end up coming out on top, but I mean, they have to pay attention to how they're using this pressure as we move towards the later stages of the game. But Defender of Olympus forced out. Cabrakan already down to half HP, but it will be falling first. The jungler for the side of Gridlock, and it's still under low health bars. And another falling Rogue Pie, 2 down so far, but a trade back on Horrors of the Deep. 1 for 2 so far. Slate's still in a good spot, looking to trade out, but Susano gets a blink in, but we push back by the Baba ultimate. Tries to get out, uses that movement, so it'll be safe for the time being, unless Slight picks it up. Double kill for him, makes it a 2 for 2.
Slight said, "You're not getting away from me, Susano. I'm going to use my blink to finish you off," after, you know, Deku coming in with that Baba Yaga ult and doing just massive amounts of damage, forcing the rest of Gamerhub Allstars out. You know, 2 really good picks coming out from Gridlock. You do lose your jungler in that, the Ratatosker, but I think that's a worthwhile trade considering where you're at in the game currently. A 2 for 1 at this point, where you're getting both the solo laner and the jungler. jungler both having to use both relics there as well. So, you know, Bede's going to be down for this Susan for a little bit longer. Hopefully, Gridlock can take advantage of that coming forward here.
Yeah, definitely some relics down that we have to look at for both teams now. Blink, 3 blinks on the side of Gridlock. Just noticing this now, actually 3 blinks on the side of both teams. Solo laner, jungler, and support for both teams rocking that blink. But as much of a difference that Rogue Pie has seemed to be trying to make in some of these team fights, he has really been engaged. I feel like he's been on the front lines trying to get in there. He finds himself 5 levels down. And you know, support is maybe expected to be behind, but this has got to have a serious impact as you look to defend this Fire Giant.
Yeah, I'm also questioning the build coming out from the Ymir as well, electing to also go into that Pestilence. You know, Pestilence doesn't stack with itself, and going the Sprint as well for that second relic. I really think you need the Cursed Ankh there. I mean, you're into a Hell, you're into the Cabrakan with Meditation. You know, Cursed Ankh is just the better relic choice in my opinion here for dealing with these teams. But yeah, being 5 levels down is not where you want to be, and he's not the scary Ymir that they used to be.
Well, looks like Fire Giant being picked up here, looking to secure it is Gamerhub, and they do so successfully. Rogue Pie in the front line, already down to half HP, but so are some members of Gamerhub, but Rogue Pie will fall first. A blink in from the jungler will force the ultimate out of Jingwei, but a blink through the wall from Cabrakan and a fantastic tremors trying to keep in the Baba Yaga, but we'll just force the dash for the time being, and it'll be a tier 2 tower for Gamerhub and maybe a Phoenix.
Yeah, really good engagement there from Gamerhub, and they're all back to full HP because they have the Hell, they have the Fire Giant sustained. I would like to see them potentially even push for this this Phoenix, but they may just back off and try to grab some of these towers. But you know, really good fight, and that's we were just talking about it. They Ymir being 5 levels down, now 6 levels down to the Athena, just easily torn through by these ADCs, and 1 minute they were there, the next they're just gone and evaporated off the map. And Gamerhub has Fire Giant, now they're pushing all the towers down.
I will say at some point Athena's going to hit level 20, and at that point he won't be able to fall any farther behind. So there's a positive, at least a semi-positive coming up here as soon as he ticks over to level 20 on the Athena. But
yeah, that's not really what you want from your Ymir, though, to be like, man, as soon as she hits level 20, I want their support to hit level 20 so I can't get any further behind. That's definitely what I want here.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's best to be thinking that way as well, but after we see the Fire Giant picked up from Gamerhub, we see them take the Disciplined Brute, take down all 3 of the remaining tier 2 towers, and that has skyrocketed this gold lead out to 11,000 almost.
I kind of want to see golden hand if we can, because you know they're getting this gold fury as well. There's going to be just a ton of gold to spend here. You look like 2,500 or 2K from everybody on Gamerhub Allstars. So this is going to be huge backs, huge power spikes. I expect for them to, you know, buy their last items here and then just kind of push down this left-hand side, and you know, potentially in the game at this point. You know, Rama still sitting at 6-2-1. He's level 20. He's got his starter upgraded already, so he's going to be swinging for the fences here, and these Phoenixes and remaining towers really aren't going to stand too much of a chance.
Well, a Bulwark spike coming out for the Cabrakan, a Spirit Robe, or looking to be potentially a Spirit Robe, as she just bought and then sold that item, so yeah, Athena may be questioning where she wants to go.
Sentinel's boon there. Athena saw, oh, hey, I have, I'm level 17, I can find
That's what it is, a lot of upgraded starters. Moomba's Spear coming out, Gem of Focus coming out, Leader's Cowl coming out, as well as an entire Deathbringer on the back for the Rama. I mean, that kind of damage cannot be discounted in the next fight.
Yeah, that damage is going to be massive here for this next fight. You thought Rama was swinging earlier. Rama's really going to be swinging now. No Spectral Armors have been picked up so far on the side of Gridlock. So this Rama is ringing true with that crit damage all the way through, whereas, you know, Gamerhub All-Stars, you have a Spectral on the Cabrakan and on the Athena to deal with some of the little bit of crit coming out from the Jingwei with that Wind Demon, and then with the proc of her too. Oh,
and an accidental beads in front of the enemy team, no less.
Cameraman, go to another god. Go to another god. Quick.
Move off. Slight making a slight mistake there. on his own and popping those beads in front of the enemy team. So he may be the target towards this next team fight, but it looks like they're not waiting for this fire giant to spawn. I would estimate they have about 45 seconds left on this objective, and that to them is enough to try and push down this right Phoenix, or at least make an attempt to stand over near it, maybe see if they can get a pick. But it's interestingly Susano over on the left-hand side of the map, and all 5 members on this side of the map for Gridlock, so it looks like they're hesitant to either deal with Susano or they're not sure that it's happening, and it's now Ratatosker rotating over towards that side of the map. So looks like for now it is. I'm waiting on the engage.
Right, yeah, Fire Giant did just fall off, so Gamerhub does need to be careful. They don't have, while they have all that gold lead sustained, they don't have that Fire Giant.
They do want to go in and a blink in from both sides, but it's that Cerberus ultimate that tries to take a member down, and it's Wrench falling first. On the other side of the map, you do see Susano take that fight. That may lead for a Phoenix for Gamerhub, but it may be a lost fight on the other side. Held very low here. That Tectonic Shift's going to block members off, though, and a good peel out of Horrors of the Deep still may guarantee them a Phoenix, but not as much damage coming out of Susano as we thought, and it's going to be Jingwei taking this fight instead. Trying to use that movement, has used the ability, still has the jet stream available, but it's Baba getting that final pick of damage, may need the last basic, and does secure it. So not only do they win the fight, successful defense for Gridlock, but no Phoenixes fall.
Yeah, huge defense coming out from Gridlock. Ratatosker may have lost the 1v1 against the Susano, but you know that can kind of be expected considering the lead that Susano had coming into that fight. But questionable decision from Gamerhub. I'm not sure why you rotate the Susano over to that left-hand side to be away from the team. Is now Gridlock is even getting an opportunity to pull this Fire Giant with Susano still being down and Horrors of the Deep and Ramak just now coming out of base.
It's 4 members here, half HP for the enhanced Fire Giant. Athena's in the area, has some steal potential, and it may be Hell here to try and steal as well. Getting low is the objective. She tries to go in and disrupt and does bring members off of it for the time being. Still a little bit low, but Ratatosker into the air is going to be looking for a target. Lands down onto the low health bars in the back, and we'll pick that one off first, but it's Rogue Pie in some trouble on the other side of things. Wrench comes in, picks up Slight, and will pick up the Fire Giant. Gamerhub All-Stars takedown 2. Takedown 3, takedown 4, Wrench and Clink, and Horrors of the Deep combined to take down 4 members, and it may be a 5th if they can finish off the Jingwei. But that enhanced Fire Giant might be the end of the game.
Yeah, you got 40 seconds on everybody, 26 on the Ymir, but that's not going to be an issue when it spawns up. Athena ults back in, using that ultimate to full advantage, and enhanced Fire Giant with the Rama on your team, and goodbye. Oh, never mind. I spoke too soon. I caster's cursed it.
Just barely gets out, makes it back to the base, and they're hesitating to go for the end just yet, taking down the right Phoenix and the middle Phoenix, and looks like they're going to go Phoenix to Phoenix. So they don't want to end just yet, and I don't think they'll get a chance to now with members respawning after this left Phoenix. But I'm not sure if this was the right call. I think they had an opportunity.
I think they definitely had the damage to be able to do it. You have 2 tanks there and a Rama that's going to be able to swing true on that Titan with enhanced Fire Giant. Take the safe route though, I guess. Get all 3 Phoenixes down. It's going to be really hard for Gridlock to come back from this point. There's really no good defense for having 3 Phoenixes down and still being down in gold, as well as now you're going to have 3 Oni fire waves that are now going to be pushing, and a 21k lead that you have to fight into if you're Gridlock. Gridlock's going to need to win at least 2 more fights here before they're able to kind of reel this game back in, because they're going to have to deal with all these fire minion waves that are now pushing, and it's going to be really difficult for them to make the comeback here.
Yeah, this is a 99%er for Gamerhub, absolutely at this point. I do want to touch on one thing, is just, point out, can we throw up player healing one more time? I just want to see how much value Cabrakan is getting out of this meditation cloak.
200.
It's just
hoggers. That's what I want.
I'm not sure that's what I'm asking Mike Cabrakan to pick up in the future.
That is exactly what I want coming out from my solo laner. You're only healing yourself, and then, if your teammates happen to be close to you, fine, they can have a little bit. That is excellent excellent relic choice coming out from the Cabrakan. But
yeah, I mean, I think he may be identifying that he's going to be too far away from the hell in these team fights, so he brings his own hell healing to himself. A little bit of a big brain play. But it looks like they're trying to finish off the game right here. Oni fire minions pushing down the right lane and the mid lane, and they want the fight as well. Defender of Olympus not being charged, or is being charged. I did see that icon right, but it's Roguepie in the backline, forced into a rough spot, and now Ratatoskr trying to get himself into the backline will end up falling instead. But a trade out on the side of Wrench and Clink gives them a chance. They're still trying to win this fight as Roguepie stuck into the backline. It'll be a double kill for the Hell, looking for the triple, but Slight picks one up for now. Titan falling as it start to be the target here, but with Rama down and 2 members alive for Gridlock, they may try and still get the defense in. Tremors out, trying to do some damage. Titan falling low, 25%, and it's the target as the end of this fight comes in. Waiting to clear some minions is Jingwei, but it will not be enough. Gamerhub take game 1.
Yeah, with all those fire minions pouring into base there from Gamerhub Allstars, it was the writing was on the wall. As much of a great defense as Gridlock was putting up there, able to take out 2, the Susano and the ADC, who is huge pickups there. But the one that was still alive was the Hell, and at the end of the day, Hell being full HP with enough mana to heal up her allies there, that was enough for them to secure the victory for themselves in game number 1.
And I think we do see some good things here from the side of Gridlock. They had a fantastic Phoenix defense over on the first time they got engaged on. They did get out to some early picks over in the dual lane, especially, towards that lane having that aggression early. And I think regardless of the disparity that specifically Roguepie felt here on this Ymir as getting those levels down, I think his positioning and his head was in the right place. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to make the correct decisions, but once Rama got ahead, it kind of made it really difficult. They were kind of trying to out-rotate the Athena, which, that makes it a little bit more difficult when you're just roaming around the map and not sitting in waves to get farm. But a lot of really great freezes coming out from Roguepie here in that game. A lot of times we saw, 2 to 3 man freezes setting up really good for her team. Unfortunately, just not quite enough a follow up to finish it off there.
Well, I am excited to see game 2, but first I want to throw it back to the desk for some analysis and breakdown on that game number 1.
Hey, there we go. Once again, Dino, great on the mute button. Fantastic, doing a great job. But thank you guys for that wonderful cast. Dinosaur joined once again by Ted Listens. And Ted, an interesting game for sure. I think that there are some very easy adjustments that Gridlock can be making in game 2. But what did you see out of that game?
I feel like I saw a lot of really interesting stuff going on. First of all, Sailing Sunny and the AGL community in general was touting how much that they were scrimming. They were touting how much that they had Excel spreadsheets set up. They were touting how much they were calculating information as much as possible. And I think it's very clear that their research and their team camaraderie paid off. They had an idea, which was to take the Susano and go and focus out in the solo lane, and they were going to do everything they could to help that Cabrakan succeed. So Susano went over there and did that, which caused the Ratatasker to come over, which means now duo lane and mid has a lot less pressure. You look at gods like the Jingwei, you look at gods like the Rama. Rama clears a lot really early, and Jing probably is a pretty even match, but they're both notoriously known for their late game availability and their late game damage. But they never really touched. There were a couple miscalculation exchanges in the dual lane. I feel like Raigai Gamaris a couple times was forcing the fight, was using his abilities before his autos. He had the potential to use his autos to get that Rama a little bit lower and then kind of follow up, but he seemed like he rushed the engagements and was kind of relying on his ability damage rather than his auto attack damage, which, hey, again, ADC player here. Sometimes you're just trying to make something happen. happens. It's not a big deal, but as long as you recognize it and go, I have these abilities that I can use afterwards, and I have these autos I can use now. Let's see how this works out together when I just do as much damage cleanly for free now, and then follow up with it afterwards. So I mean, there was a lot of really good fights in there. I feel like the Sana played his heart out, and the Hell got out of some really sticky situations where they were 1 HP, or I mean, probably 8 HP or 20 HP. But there was like a right tier 2 Phoenix tower siege, and the Hell got out with minimal health. No idea how it happened, but it did, and it just seemed like Sailing Sunny and his team was really able to coordinate and be productive that first game, more so than Gridlock. And it's maybe potentially Gridlock hasn't been playing together as much recently. Maybe they are suffering from trying to learn on the fly with their subs that they don't play with as much. But I don't think it's like an all out though. I feel like Gridlock had a really good fight and was able to do a lot. They just weren't as team oriented, or they weren't able to work together as well as Gamerhub Allstars.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it seemed like Gamerhub was able to get the lead, and they just kept snowballing it and not really giving Gridlock much of a foot to get back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, if Gridlock goes back into this game in game 2 and they sort of clean up a little bit of those early game mistakes, maybe look to some more dominant gods, maybe don't go with like the Jing Wei. The Ymir for me was just, I wouldn't say he was bad, but he's a Ymir that's behind. And like, as a support, that is never where you want to be as Ymir, and it's very difficult to make anything happen at that point as a Ymir. There's some micro plays that you can maybe make with your wall and hoping, but again, like there's really not much. So maybe if they don't feel like they can get this Ymir back up and running early game, maybe look towards something else perhaps that might help them a little bit. I think maybe buying a Cursed Ankh instead of Heavenly Wings would be pretty nice. I mean, the Hell had what 15k healing or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, yeah, I think that there's some little decisions that sort of made things more and more difficult for them. And obviously, when you have a healer on your team and you're ahead, it's pretty difficult as the other team to deal with that situation.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought up Ymir and Rogue Pie playing Ymir. Rogue Pie had a really good set of awareness while they were playing this Ymir. There's a point in about 7 minutes of the game, maybe 5 or 6 minutes in the game, where they were going for like the left mid harpies, and instead they heard that the Hell and the Athena were over on oracles, and instead of going for the mid harpies, they decided, hey, we're going to contest these oracles, and Rogue Pie path high and was able to get both the Hell and the Athena. Athena taunted the Ymir off of the Hell, but regardless, Rogue Pie had a lot of awareness. They were okay. This isn't. I'm not trying to give Rogue a ton of high praise, but Rogue was playing a roar slash PBM esque where they were trying to control the jungle flow, and they were doing a good job of being in the jungle. What lacked for Rogue was their farming ability and being in lane and getting actual farm, because at one point, I think it was 5 or 6 levels down for Rogue. Rogue did a really great job of making a presence in the jungle and being aware in the jungle, but they never secured the farm that they really needed to be effective. So I think Rogue had a really, and I think that the Blink went out of a great idea, because Blink puts Ymir in a great position, but it doesn't put the rest of the team in the position. And the Rama could have dashed out, the Hell could have cleansed out. There were so many ways to Athena could have dashed out. There's so many other or could have taunted the Ymir off. So there's so many different combinations. I feel like if they went with like a sprint first and then potentially an Ankh later, where it really matters, or a frenzy. I mean, it really depends on if you're able to lock down the Hell or not. But I feel like Ymir could have chosen their relics a little bit better, but ultimately, I think that Blink might not have been the best situational thing, and they could have gotten more value out of like a sprint and then potentially a frenzy, or as you and both Narwhal have mentioned, like something like an Ankh for the Hell.
Yeah, well, We are going to throw it to a quick break, and then we will be back with picks and bans. Stay tuned. Well, welcome back, everybody, to the AVGL Savages quarterfinal. Currently, Gamerhub. Allstars are up 1-0 to Gridlock. Dinosaur joined by Ted's Listens, and we are straight into picks and bans.
Yeah, man, that was a really exciting match. I thought that uh, I think it was more of decision making than difference in skill in that set. I think that certain applications of pressure, certain decisions about where they wanted to succeed, maybe they weren't synced for Gridlock. Gamerhub All Stars did a great job, and it's very clear that they scrim and they play very often together because they seem to be all the way on the same page that entire set or that entire game. But you know, I don't. I mean, maybe the draft could be a little bit different, but I feel like there's a fighting chance for Gridlock to make a stand here and to force this to a game 3.
Yeah, I mean it's not as though they're being outclassed, right? It's
Mhm.
just a matter of they kind of got behind and they weren't really given an opportunity to come back into things. And so we're looking at picks and bans now. Odin taken off the table once again. Gamerhub deciding that they don't want to deal with that Odin pick. And Ted, obviously Odin was sort of the hot pick for a minute for sure. You feel like Odin is still up there?
Odin does okay. So Odin does enough damage for the god to be viable, whether it be solo, support, or jungle. And because they do enough damage, and because picking an Odin means that your team now needs to pick leaps or pick jumps or pick some way to get out of his, and also force a Phantom Veil, it makes sense that you're going to take Odin out of the picture. If Odin wasn't doing enough damage to be able to keep up as far as farm, whether it be the jungle, support, or solo, he wouldn't need to be banned. But the fact that he's able to do enough damage means that uh, he dictates your draft, and you don't want your draft to be dictated because you want to play the way you want to play. So draft getting him out of the picture makes a ton of sense for Gamerhub All Stars. They don't have to worry about getting leaps, getting phantom, when you could be getting frenzies, you could be getting bracers, you could be getting sprints, you could be getting blinks. Those are all relics that are very valuable, but the Odin really kind of narrows down your focus as far as your supports, your carries, and how they have to play around the Odin.
Right. I think Odin is certainly a pick that you have to play around, right? And so I think I'm a big fan of just locking in the Wheelish, but of course, when do you lock that in? If you're picking Odin, aren't you banning a Wheelish then at that point? That's certainly on your mind at least. So just get rid of the Odin. It's just simpler that way, right? And speaking of just get rid of things that are pain, hell, now banned. Gridlock decided, you know what? Don't think I want to let him run it back.
Yeah, I mean, there's sometimes when you play a game of Smite or a set of Smite, and you realize that one individual god gave your entire team a difficult time. We noticed that Gamerhub All Stars were able to have extended engagements against Gridlock because of the presence of Hell. And again, it could have been the presence of any healer. It could have been the presence of a Chang'e. It could have been the presence of a Aphrodite. But Hell does so much right now and is able to do it even while building defensively. So getting her out of the picture and making sure that Gridlock has at least an option to not play against her. They go, okay, we have something that we want to do. We want to do it, and last time when we tried to do it, the hell gave us a problem. So get the hell out of the picture, get the hell out of the picture, and just keep on going and see if what their thought process, their train of thought of how they win Smite, will be successful the next game.
Yeah, I think that hell and the healing and things were just a defining factor for a lot of what was going wrong with Gridlock, and so I think that it was a smart decision to take it away. Unfortunately, that does leave Uller up, and Uller is dominant currently, to say the least. Very, very strong. Feels very, very good to play.
Yeah, when you have Transcendence in the meta, when you have Crusher in the meta, when you have Yoans in the meta, Ulu is always going to creep up, right? He's just one of those gods that big 1v1 god, big I'm going to just go all in because my kit should all in you and put you out of the game. but he does have somewhat of a skill cap. He does have some type of a ceiling that players need to be very familiar with him. He does have a ton of value, but you have to recognize where his value lies and how to play that value properly. So Uller is a great pick in general if the ADC and even potentially, honestly, I've seen some Uller coming out of the mid. If those characters or those players are comfortable with the Uller, then great. But the second that Uller gets behind, you're not loving life at all.
Yeah, a chance at an Uller jungle, perhaps.
I've seen other things.
Well, to match the Uller, we do have a Chiron. I'm curious to think how you much you like that matchup, kind of going into things. They also did manage to get the Yemoja, and Yemoja, uh, probably the best support, all around support in the game currently, right?
Yeah, Yamoja is really interesting because one of our management pieces, Glacier, wonderful guy. He talks about Yamoja a lot because he's a support player and discusses the fact that Yamoja is such a god that has so much dynamic, so many dynamic aspects to her that it's incredibly impossible to play her perfectly unless you're a pro in Smite. It's so difficult to do everything that her kit allows her to do perfectly for your team unless you're a pro because it takes so much perfect calculation. But that does not diminish her value in general with her healing or her ult, her zone control, or with the ability to get her team out with protections or being able to lock down the enemy. That doesn't diminish all of that. It just means that you can't do it as perfectly as the pros can. And I totally agree with him on that point. But at the same point, there's value there. There's value there for you to be a second half team or to be able to control space and not be able to allow the back line to get to the front line or the back line to get to the opposing back line. So there's a lot of value there. The Chiron Uller makes a lot of sense because they're deciding that they're not going to go for an auto attack fight. They're deciding both that they're going to go for an ability based fight, and that means that those two gods kind of match up evenly. Chiron has his cleanse, he has his ult to keep him safe or stay alive. He doesn't have to worry so much about the Uller, and also has a great mobility and a lot of potential follow up. So he's basically going pawn for pawn with the Uller.
Yeah. Well, looking over on the side of Gamerhub Ultra, they decide to run the Susano back. I don't blame them. It seemed to be working out fairly well for them, and now they've opted to take the Ymir for themselves. How do you think that is going to affect Gridlock's draft?
I think Ymir is a really great pick into the Chiron. Chiron has a really hard time with those orchestrated walls that Ymir can create. He doesn't have the ability to dash away because Ymir controls that space. He also doesn't allow Yemoja, if she wants to dash away or create one of her portals, to be able to dash away because he can also do that. Ymir does create a lot of presence, does create a lot of potential objective secure or objective zoning. Has maybe they think that they didn't want Gridlock to have it, so that, I mean, although the Yemoja was already picked, but Ymir does have a lot of value. It just depends on where you see the value going, and I think it's more so of cutting the Chiron off from being mobile, cutting the Yemoja off from being mobile, rather than anything else.
Yeah, I think that's right. You look at Ymir, and I think it's so far it's good, but now Gridlock has in the back of their mind, maybe we should look to get a little bit more escape from this Ymir's wall, so that it can't be as oppressive. You could pick something even like a Discordia, right, where you can just kind of dash underneath it. Although technically it's a leap, so you're dashing. It's like Scylla, right, where you it's a leap, but you're going under. I don't know how that works, but Smite science for you. It's a thing. As interesting,
Yeah.
and Morgan Le Fay being hovered here and locked in.
Yeah, I'm more interested in seeing this Gridlock making the decision to ban all this Kabrakan. They scathed their way through the first top 6 picks and didn't have to see the Kabrakan, and ultimately were able to ban it out in the second phase. And I feel like that's the best decision for Gridlock. It just gave the Cerberus a really hard time. Also controlled space for the carries. I mean, there was a one point where they were fighting around gold last game, and it forced Jingwei's ult when they first decided that they were going to engage on gold. And then when Gamerhub was actually finishing up gold, the Cabrakan had his ult up again because he had 30% cooldown. Such a low cooldown, such a zone control ultimate. It's good to see them banning that out and recognizing that that was an issue with them against them last game.
Yeah, nothing like a little meditation for the cooldown, I guess, aspect of the game. Now we're seeing a big Dino fan pick right here, Tier, and maybe he will be tyrannical, raining tyranny down. But perhaps maybe Gridlock won't shed a tear for this pick. They're looking for the dodge. I do want to touch on Merlin. What do you make of Merlin currently in the meta?
First of all, your little puns right there are bringing me to tears. I'll tell you that right now. I love it. I love your efforts, but hey, Tier's a great high pressure god. Forces beads a lot, is able to survive a lot. Great pick, and this Merlin is able to do sustained damage from a distance and not really have to worry about engaging too much. Kind of like a Kuku Khan, right? But with more versatility because they have slows, they have pulls, they have so many different things. But you can kind of just drop your abilities and walk away and go, oh, that's taken care of. I cleared a wave, or I cleared left harpies, or I cleared that. That's all really fun with Merlin. And he does a lot of damage and takes advantage of all the itemization from mages right now. But this Daji is a huge pick. I mean, I think that the fact that they have now a Daji and they have this Cerberus, right? They have beads being forced a lot. Even the Yemoja can force beads a lot too. They have the ability to really follow up on each other if they can communicate properly when they know that enemy beads are down. On the opposite side, though, too, I mean, you have a Tyr, you have a Susano, you have a Ymir, Uller, I mean, and you have a Merlin. They're going to be forcing beads on cooldown. If it really comes down to the team that has the best teamwork, the most communication, the one that really relays the message to the other team that, hey, this is where you can follow up. This is where we can succeed. This is where we can be productive. And the team in this game that does that the best is the one that's going to succeed.
Yeah, well, we will find out who will succeed right now as we throw it onto the cast. Take it away, Farog and Narwhal.
Thank you so much. Excuse me. Starting off the cast very smoothly there.
Just too excited.
To get super excited for this game number 2 as we see some different drafts, different picks from both sides here. And the thing that I'm really looking towards is these different picks for the dual lane. We saw our first blood over towards the dual lane in game number 1, and it was really facilitated by this Ymir, and he's the only pick that's the same from last game, but even though the god's the same, the player's a little bit different. Sailing Sunny now piloting this Ymir, and you could argue right now that Ymir Uller in the meta might be the most kill-hungry dual lane for the first 3 minutes that you could get.
Yeah, the kill lane used to be Sobek on her back in the day, and now with the current iteration of the gods and items and buffs and where everything's at, Ymir Uller is 100% a kill lane. 2 really good beads burners. Uller just hits you in the face with his axe and then he combos off. Ymir's going to be able to set it up and throw up the wall and just be just complete nuisance with all the slows and just zone control. So Gamerhub Allstars really looking to put it to the dual lane over here again in game 2.
It's like they're already getting involved. That axe hitting on, forcing the freeze from the Ymir, trying to get some damage onto Ryguy. He will get taken down to half HP. Doesn't want to use the beads, won't have to, as that dash goes on cooldown right there. Takes over to level 2 just in time. But speaking of beads burners, we have this Daji coming out in the jungle. Susano may be staying the same for Dr. Phil. He had some success in game number 1, but a major switch up, I would say, from the Ratatosker, the semi-global god that's not a huge beads burner. Can in certain cases, of course, but I mean, this Daji brings a whole new level of control to these team fights.
Daji's another one of those gods that, you know, has not really been meta and has kind of like sat on the sidelines for, you know, a few patches now. But it's one of those gods that if you forget how to play against her, she can just be an absolute menace to try to deal with. So really good pickup there from Gridlock, and you know, only 2 sets of beads so far picked up for Gamerhub All-Stars. So Daji is going to be able to get pulls on a lot of these characters here. for the side of the blue squad. So interesting to see where she might try to put some of that pressure early.
Looks like another freeze will cancel the dash at a Guy. Does force that beads on an early cooldown, which might give an opportunity for Dr. Phil to come over here. But it's yet again more blue pressure seen, but this time might be blue pressure on the side defended, at least, by Gridlock, but it's a gank instead. Slight force to dash away. Won't be enough damage coming out of Dr. Phil. And that first blue invade will not be successful. It looks like, yeah, Dr. Phil gonna back off there, learning from game 1.
Gridlock understanding what Gamerhub wanted to do in game number 1, which was just heavy solo lane pressure, heavy pressure on the blue buffs, keep this Cerberus down. So Gridlock Daji over there for the spawn, foregoing her own speed buff in order to secure the blue buff there for her solo laner and try to keep them at par. Whereas last game it was 2 to 3 level leads coming out there around the 10 to 15 minute mark. So already looking much better coming out for the Cerberus here.
Yeah, I mean, it was very much a reactionary game, it felt like, from Gridlock for the majority of that game number 1. Outside of those early duo kills, it was very much, okay, we're going to invade blue, we're going to get pressure over here in solo, we're going to be the ones starting the fights, we're going to be the ones starting the objectives, but Gridlock already off to a better start, despite even being a little bit down, but solo kill over in the solo lane. Slight coming out and getting the better of Heart of the Deep.
Yeah, if I had to guess as to what happened over there in that solo lane, maybe in a solo laner myself, I'm guessing Tyr Fearless the wave. Cerberus saw Tyr Fearless the wave towards them, ulted them under the tower. Tyr tried to ult in response, got the ult off, but the tower shot went off and killed him. So there's your replay of what happened over there in that solo lane.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And we were talking about how that Cerberus ultimate could have maybe been used to get a kill in a cheeky spot over in game 1, and he does manage to make it happen in game number 2, and already off to a substantially better start is Slight. And despite falling behind early, Slight was still able to make a pretty serious impact in some of those team fights towards the later stages of the game. The one that was maybe the farthest behind, not maybe, definitely the farthest behind, good wall there from Sailing Sunny, was Rogue Pie, previously on this Ymir, now on this Yemoja, and talked about on the desk was his troubles with farming specifically. So I'm really looking to him as he rotates here towards the Morgan Le Fay in mid. I'm really looking to him to maybe start fights a little bit less if it means he can be on par.
A little bit of a change up too. Yemoja going the Benevolence this time around instead of that Sentinels. So going to be a little bit safer, but good use of the ultimate there coming out from Morgan Le Fay to CC immune that pull from Susan. Really good mechanics coming out from Deku there.
Looks like a blue invade here, trying from Heart of the Deep. Slight holding on to that secure, I suspect. Good knock-up immunity usage from Heart of the Deep will save him from that ultimate, and some poke getting traded back and forth, but it's Bubbles on the way over, may be able to force out the Tyr ultimate, and will do just that. See if that powwow misses the first two, pulls back a little bit too early. They'll drop that kill, but they'll secure the blue buff.
Oh, she thought she had it there with the second one and was going to just snap lock him back down into place. That would have been a pretty solid chance for a kill there onto that Tyr who does not have any physical defense just yet. But unfortunately, just barely missed the mark coming out there with that Daji ultimate. But I want to talk a little bit about another mix-up that we're seeing. Both of the ADCs this time around electing to go this Bumba's Dagger with the Chiron Uller. It's more so like that is the correct item that you should be building on this one. But Ragai Guarmez this time electing to go that Bumba's Dagger as well. Going to be swinging for massive amounts of damage come late game when they upgrade that to, I would presume, the Bumba's Spear. I don't think either of them would. Maybe the Uller would go Bumba's Hammer, but Bumba's Spear I think is just the better option right now.
Yeah, 2 ability-based ADCs this game as opposed to the 2 more auto-attack focused ADCs from the last game. And I think where Rama maybe found his success last game, getting that solo kill, having that pressure in lane, that was Gamerhub's ADC, Wrench having some success that game, and it might be him having the same success, but Another fight breaking out on the Gold Fury. It's Susano in a rough spot first. Into the powwow is Bubbles after he got that initial kill, and a great initial pull back in will put Alert under some pressure as well. He'll get taken out for the second kill. Now Sunny in a rough spot as well in the backline. All members being chased down. Deku picks up a double kill that fight. And it looks like Sunny will be the next to fall in enemy territory at this point. I'm not sure if he can find himself an escape route. It'll be only a matter of time before he falls to the wayside. And it'll be Gridlock picking up 4 kills across the board, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, really good engagement there from Gridlock, understanding, you know, they had the opportunity to go in, got the beads off the Uller early enough in that fight, so when Daji came in, was able to get the pull off onto him and just really lock him down. And, you know, once the Uller's out of the equation, it was a relatively easy fight. A lot of that big amounts of damage wasn't able to come through. And again, great ult coming out from Yamoja Rogue Pie here as Daji picks up the Horrors of the Deep over in the solo lane. So Daji, again, just if you haven't played against her in a while, she's pretty decent, and it can be kind of awkward to understand how to play against her again.
Yeah, Bubbles being the one to put some pressure over here towards the solo lane. Dr. Phil did that very well in game number 1, but it's slight... Now having a slight lead over in the solo lane for Gridlock. Maybe a little bit of the opposite from last game, whereas Gamerhub and Hearts of the Deep was using that lead. And I mean, Hearts of the Deep on this Cabrakan, I struggled so much to find that god name. Hearts of the Deep on this Cabrakan in game number 1, critical. I mean, I can't speak enough about how critical his presence was to many of their successful fights towards the early and the mid stages of the game. And now they just don't have that. It's not as if they have a part of that, they just don't have that anymore, right? And we'll see a small engagement here towards the mid lane. Another kill from Bubbles, gets into the Pala to avoid the Typhoon. Will pull back in at least one member, trying to pull back in both, and will pull back in both. Dr. Phil falls for the second, Sunny will fall for the third. Bubbles is making waves.
Yeah, huge impact there. Merlin, questionable positioning. Not really sure why you're looking to go for that red buff. You had wards, so you knew Bubbles was over there, and you can assume that Yamoja is going to be right nearby as well. So questionable positioning. You know, once Merlin just flickers away, Daji, Trickster Spirits, very easy follow-up onto that Merlin. Daji able to get up into her Pillar of Agonies, or not Pillar of Agonies, what's her ultimate? I can't remember. Powwow. Pillar of Agonies is Hades, we got there. Able to get up into the Powwow and immune the damage coming out from the Susano. So again, another great pickup from Gridlock, understanding, you know, them trying to go back to this Susano. Daji also very good into Susano, because you can just jump up there, immune the damage, and return a bunch of damage as well.
Looks like Merlin has this warded, so Bubbles will get that successful red buff invade, and he'll get forced out. Flicker at least will get forced out. Morgan into the ultimate, takes him out. So much damage coming out from Morgan Le Fay. Deku now on the run, though. May get put into a bad spot. 2v2 here in the enemy jungle. Forced into the powwow, trying to pull some members in. We'll get at least one, but the Typhoon comes through at the right time. Bubbles not waiting that one out properly, and will get taken down as a result.
Oh, dropped down just a hair too soon as the Typhoon was coming out. Bubbles drops down into it, but Susano needs to be careful. He may fall here. He did use that movement ability, which does increase the damage off of Morgan Le Fay's 3 there. So it needs to be careful. That's another good little bit of interaction that, you know, people probably forget when it comes to Morgan is her 3. If you use movement abilities while the 3 is ticked on you, it increases the amount of damage that ability does over time.
Yeah, a lot of interesting facets of Morgan Le Fay here. A god that I think we saw a lot of play towards when she became available in the competitive scene, but have not seen much from her as of late at the highest levels of play. So it does seem to be doing pretty well here, and as opposed to the quiet, leave everybody alone, just farm mid lane that we got in game number 1, some huge fights around the mid lane has left a serious gap, both in XP and in kills in the mid lane this time. Gridlock majorly ahead there.
Yeah, we saw game number 1, there was just 0-0-0 from both mid laners up to this point in the game, and now we're looking at 3-0-3 on this Morgan Le Fay. So huge improvement from their standpoint on Gridlock, which, you know, Morgan Le Fay is one of those gods that does want to fight early, because the easy fear on that one is just such good CC and damage potential coming out that you kind of just want to throw it out there. And the ultimate also does a surprising amount of damage as well. So it's good to see Gridlock taking advantage of that. If I'm Gamerhub Allstars, I'm looking at them and I kind of want to, like, you know, put the foot on the brake just a little bit, maybe not look so heavy into Gridlock's jungle, try to just farm a little bit safer, get a little bit more wards out in order for vision on Gridlock and where they're looking to put pressure.
Well, 12 minutes into the game, and we take a step back and take a look at the state, right? Gridlock in a 3,000, maybe 2,500 gold lead at this point of the game, and a small XP lead in a number of lanes, namely that mid lane. But some place that's been relatively quiet this game has been that ADC lane. Despite some solo kills on both sides in game number 1, we haven't seen these two ADCs match off. Wrench has been relatively quiet on the Uller, and given the nature of the character that Uller is, that surprises me a little bit.
Yeah, while Uller does have a lot of that easy kill potential, you know, with he sets up for himself very nicely. Chiron also, you know, if Chiron's able to play it well, Chiron can kind of just stay back, throw out abilities here and there, and just kind of fall back and throw out his masterful shot. And another relatively safe god when it comes to just clearing the wave and sitting over here. If he ever gets engaged upon, you know, he does still have the beads. He just picked up the Aegis for himself as well. So he's going to be able to, you know, beads, hop up into that ultimate and just return a ton of damage there with this fully stacked Transcendence and the Jotun's Wrath online already, whereas Uller is still looking to stack up his Jotun. So a little bit of a switch with how they elected to build those items in order, but still electing to primarily go the same route.
Yeah, they'll pretty much get to the same place here. I think the one major difference is this next item coming out. Maybe a Kins or an Executioner, maybe an Aussie. In fact, I think likely
probably
going to
be Aussie.
Yeah, coming out of Ryguy, but choosing to go towards a little bit more attack speed is Ryguy, but it's actually stepping up a little bit too far, and Palau forced out will try to grab Dr. Phil here, does get the beads forced out. Chiron ultimate may try to finish this kill, but will only leave him 25% HP, and now it's Wrench under a little bit of pressure. Good blink from Rogue. I will try and get involved here, but it's actually Sunny involved instead. Dr. Phil taken out early on. That ultimate coming through from Deco hits through the backline. All members low here on the side of Gridlock, forced to disengage, but a good pick will give him the advantage.
Yeah, it looks like they have a little bit of a DC coming out from Gridlock as well, but Roguepie able to throw out just enough healing there before all that damage came through, and that was a really good fight. You know, Susano walking up looking like he was going to place a ward and then was just going to back off, but ended up walking head first into the Dodgy, who just was like, oh, hey, you're here now, so I'm just going to jump on you and we'll just take this fight right now. Deku, again, looping underneath there from the mid lane, able to clean up the kills there with, again, that Morgan Le Fay damage. Already got the Soul Gem online, building into some pen as well, sitting at 4-0-3 compared to her counterpart at 0-3-1. But I will say, good job on the Merlin, still only being a level down. So he's at least been able to get his farm up.
Yeah, definitely been contending, still been able to put out some damage in these fights, and definitely has not been a wash for his portion of these fights. But Deku on this Morgan, as you mentioned, has had a huge impact in a number of these fights, and it's really coming out from that ultimate, that consuming power from Morgan. Just, I mean, tore through the team fight in the last one, through the Ymir wall, is able to finish off that kill onto Dr. Phil. And it's had some success in the solo kill, getting the solo kill on to Eric as well earlier on in this game. And as long as she's able to stay safe, right? No traditional movement ability on that Morgan Le Fay. So it's really her ability to stay safe and keep doing that damage from range. But if she continues to do that, she can be a menace in these next couple of fights.
Yeah, Morgan's definitely one of those gods that when she's ahead or on par, she's just super oppressive. When as soon as she starts getting behind, it kind of just feels like she's not really able to do that much. So good on Gridlock, good on them pushing, understanding, you know, the god's strengths and the Stagi especially, putting a lot of that focus on this mid lane to try to get this Morgan Le Fay ahead, as we see Tyr rotating over now.
Yeah, under a little bit of pressure in the mid lane is Morgan, but only poked down to half HP. Tyr is in no mood to mess around and wants to get into this fight. Forces the ultimate out and gets 2 members down to half HP, but falls to half HP himself, and it's Roguepie in a little bit of a rough spot. That power pulls Tyr over the wall, though, and he'll get taken out as well. 1 for 1 so far. The Oni Fury's on the map, and Dr. Phil will fall as well. So 2 for 1, excuse me, in favor of Gridlock.
Yeah, Tyr did end up expending the beads. I believe he probably got hit by that Paolo and wasn't able to beads fast enough before he got pulled under the tower into just the, again, Deku damage there on the Morgan Le Fay as well as the Daji. So I think Phil V looked like he got picked in the jungle there by Ryguy as he was rotating to mid lane there on this Chiron. The Chiron, again, still looking really clean, sitting at 2-0-3, been able to escape unscathed from most of these engagements, so a huge boon coming out of the dual lane from Gridlock.
And he came in late on that engagement and was able to pick up Phil, I think, while he was maybe not paying attention to where he was coming from. So good rotation from Ryguy on that Chiron, as you mentioned, and it looks like it'll lead them to the Pyromancer. Even though the Oni Fury is up at the moment, they're not prepared to group up for it, and instead they'll look at this objective as Sunny will try and steal this one away, but not in a position to guarantee that steal. But still, Tars of the Deep wants to fight. Pushes Slight under the Fire Giant. Nobody here to follow up, though, will likely lead to his escape, and we'll wait for this Gold Fury to start up, but that might be just what's on the menu for Roguepie. Whereas Around the Wall does have the abilities, no back off.
Yeah, I was going to say, they were doing that. Gamerhub did have the Oracle Vision, so they knew it was going on. They were able to make the rotations over there, but a little bit of a damage check coming out from Gridlock, saying, how fast can we actually burn this thing down, as Chiron did end up finishing the Asi, and looks like he's building into the next mace there in that tree. Oops, all maces getting ready to be built, so really exciting when you find that in your cereal.
Yeah, I think as we do see that next mace come out, potentially a Crusher, potentially a Titan's Bane, we still look to these maces from the Uller, completely dedicated to this mace tree and the Transcendence, and maybe next to Heartseeker, more going for this burst build that we've seen out of Ullers recently. I mean, the only attack speed item we see there is the Crusher.
Yeah, Uller is one of those gods that really doesn't need the attack speed. He gets a little bit of attack speed on level up when he puts points into his ultimate, which, he's level 17 now, so he should be putting more points into that ult. But really not, Uller's not known for just auto-attacking you down constantly. Uller is known for hitting his axe and 1-2ing you, or 1-3ing you in his bow stance to just destroy your health bar. And as soon as he gets that Heartseeker online, that bonus penetration, bonus damage to your taking out 8% health, he's going to be a real menace to deal with.
Well, we do see that Draugr get destroyed. A little bit of pressure in the dual lane here as well. Dash coming in from Bubbles, looking to take it out on this Uller. A good axe will stop him in this trap, so the Paladin will pull him right back in. And the River's Rebuke will guarantee that kill as well. One pick may look them towards the Oni Fury now, as they've taken Wrench off the map. They feel more comfortable taking this, but there are 2 major ultimates in these team fights not available for this fight. Falling low is the Oni Fury, half HP at this point. Stepping up is Sunny, but Daji's in the backline trying to go onto this Uller, or excuse the Merlin flickers out, but it's actually Sunny in on the backline, and he's going to get focused now as well, taking out a half HP, but it's the Gold Fury falling as well. They're struggling to find out which targets they want to focus on, and Sunny will be the one as the end of this fight comes along. Deku finishes that one off, and Gridlock finishes off the Oni Fury.
Really good wall there coming out from Sailing Sunny to save his Merlin, as Daji was definitely going to be able to just walk that Merlin down and kill him, but threw up the wall and then immediately went back to the Gold Fury, as we see Dr. Phil diving the tier 2 to clean up the Cerberus over there in solo lane.
Yeah, they do get a trade kill over in that solo lane, and they may actually get the tier 1 tower as well if Heart of the Deep chooses to push this, which he will. But that Gold Fury, that Oni Fury coming out while providing them with a little bit of XP, a little bit of gold, it tends to give them some pressure in the lanes. That tends to be what you're looking at. and they're not going to use it in the solo lane, it looks like, although it doesn't look like he took down that tier 1 tower, instead focusing on the minions. But so they won't get the tier 1 tower, and they will actually get the tier 1 tower in mid for the side of Gridlock. So definitely a successful Oni Fury, and it's actually Chiron on this side of the map. Ryguy trying to take this fight found all the way on the other side of the map.
Looks like Gridlock probably looking to set up for potentially a Fire Giant here, but it's always interesting to see the ADC coming over to the solo lane, especially at this part of the game. But doing a bunch of damage to this tier. Tier does need to be careful. This is a level 19 Chiron with 4 items stacked up already, so he's going to be throwing out quite a good chunk of damage here.
And they do back off from one another there. Tier's still half HP, but as you mentioned, 5 members grouping up on the right side of the map for Gridlock, and Bubbles wants to go in, looking for the dash, does get it past the wall, and Merlin's in a little bit of trouble. Eric trying to turn it back around, but it'll be Slight picking up Sunny for the first kill instead. Palau still available and gone up into. Aegis forced out, but he'll be pulled back, and it won't need it. Centaurus finishes that one off. 2 kills so far for the side of Gridlock, looking for a third. Hearts of the Deep, no chance. Gets out with his ultimate, or unable to get out with his ultimate, as picks up that double kill. Ryguy on the board for 2, and now they're looking at the Fire Giant.
Yeah, Merlin had to burn both of the relics there and still ended up falling. Really good engagement, but looking at a Phoenix over here is the Uller, who did not make any of these rotations. Daji does back, but is she going to be able to block the autos? Block the autos!
Try to block the autos, jump past his OA, looking for the Phoenix, and he won't get it! Oh my goodness! But it's Typhoon trying to steal the Fire Giant. Phil on the other side of the map. Gridlock win on both accounts, save their Phoenix, secure the Fire Giant, gets a full deicide. All coming up nice for Gridlock.
Oh, that's so can-crushing coming out there from the Uller, being 1 auto attack away from taking that Phoenix down. It is an extremely low Phoenix, but I don't think anybody from Gamerhub is going to be able to get up there and actually put the last little bit of damage into it, as it's going to start regenning up, and now you have a full 5-man Fire Giant on the side of Gridlock able to push down. Still have 5 towers left up on the map, so a lot of gold still sitting here for Gridlock to pick up and put into their pockets to try to finish out this game.
We saw Gamerhub here do on this siege last time. They took all the tier 2 towers, and then even in a spot where they could have maybe ended the game, they took all the Phoenixes. They were very disciplined, had the style of they wanted to get gold in their pockets, they wanted to get their item leads as far ahead as possible. And I'm interested to see how Gridlock takes that approach. Are they going to take the same approach? Are they going to look to maybe just focus and push down one lane? I can tell you right now, even at this stage of the game, it's still the solo laners, as separate as they possibly could be, over in the right-hand side, not being with the team, so it'll be a 4v4 for the time being on this tier 2 tower.
Laners just afraid of leaving their lane at this point with how much pressure the junglers have been putting over on that side of the map. But you're seeing the Uller damage starting to come through now. Half health on that Emoja, but she's going to be able to heal up a little bit, provide a little bit more shielding as well for her team. As she's already back up to essentially full health. They're looking to finally start grouping up. Solo laners are still fighting on their rotation over here. Both of them just skerfuffling in the jungle here. I think Cerberus probably has a little bit of a better advantage here. Cerberus did elect to go that Divine Ruin as well, so further limiting all the healing, any healing coming out from Gamerhub.
They have to be aware of this tier's positioning, able to potentially come in on the backline with that blink if he gets an opportunity, but good zoning right now from Slight's going to keep him from engaging here, but it looks hesitant to engage for Gridlock. Palau comes out, going to look to start. Aegis forced out, but not the beads in time. Oh, they're going to be able to jump away for the time being, but a good start already for Gridlock. Typhoon going to come out, trade 1 for 1, 2 for 1, 2 for 2. So many kills coming out on both sides so far. And that Cerberus ultimate going to try push members back in, but won't be for the time being. And Sunny's on the front line. Down a half HP are both tanks right there, but it's still struggling to put out damage for Gridlock as their 2 carries are trying to back off right now as well. 3 members left for both teams, but a successful tier 2 tower defense.
Yeah, a little bit of a fat finger coming out from the Uller. Definitely meant to press the beads there, but instead accidentally hit the Aegis and got pulled into that Palau, which eventually led to his death. But that was a lot of ultimates getting forced as Tyr not in a great spot into this Morgan Le Fay, who is swinging for a ton of damage right now with that Spear of the Magus online as well, doing bonus damage, extra life steal coming out from her as well there.
I will say that that tower defense does not bode well for Gridlock's future siege attempts. It seemed like they stood there for multiple waves, hesitant to try and engage despite the engage tools they had at their disposal. And then finally, when they did choose to engage, it felt to me, and this is just me, I'm interested in your thoughts, it feels to me like Powwow, of all the things that you have on your team, is not the optimal engage tool.
When I think of Powwow, I'm thinking, while yes, it can be used as an engage tool to get a bunch of beads, I really want the Cerberus to be blinking in, ulting, and then getting all the beads down, and then the Daji comes in for the follow-up on that Powwow. As soon as the beads are down, then you can hit as many targets as you want. You can take your time up there in the ultimate and fire off all 3 chains instead of just, ulting, shooting 1 chain, and then immediately dropping back down. You got the 1 pick from it, which was great, but still a lot of other relics still up on the board. Merlin holding on to both his beads and Aegis in that fight. Susano able to hold on to his beads. So a lot of relics unburnt on the side of Gamerhub there. So that doesn't necessarily bode the greatest for Gridlock, but Gridlock does still have this 10k lead as they're getting ready to group up for this next Fire Giant. This next Fire Giant is going to be a big tell. 27 minutes in, this is one of the times where, depending on how long you delay and do the Fire Giant dance, it could turn into an enhanced Fire Giant, and then at that point, whoever really secures that Fire Giant then is looking really good to close out the game.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't mince words here. Let's be incredibly clear. That successful tower defense coming out of Gamerhub Allstars is worth half of their total kills in 27 minutes. So it would not be unfair to say Gridlock have had full control of this game outside of maybe an unsuccessful tower attack or tower siege right there in this game. So I fully expect them to still be in the driver's seat, but not if Slate gets caught out a little bit too far forward. Dr. Phil will be gifted a kill there, and now Gridlock might be on the back foot for this Fire Giant fight.
Yeah, Slight getting caught out of position there, leading to a really good chance for an engage here. A little bit unfortunate on the wall timing there for the Ymir. Put it just in front of himself instead of behind the Umoja, but does force out the Umoja ultimate. Umoja was forced to beads a little bit earlier in this engagement as well, but it doesn't look like Gridlock is wanting to give up these objectives for free.
No, and they do want to still remain in the fight. Gamerhub will pick up the Pyromancer, but a Powwow pops from the Daji. It'll be Centaurus instead, ripping through the enemy team. He'll pick up a double kill. Ragai on the board for 2, looking for the 3rd. Uller low, but it will be Bubbles on him instead. Trying to pick up that final kill. The bleed will be enough to finish it off. 3 fall for Gamerhub, and they're looking at the Fire Giant.
Oh, just unfortunate positioning coming out from the Allstars there. Lined up perfectly for Morgan Le Fay ult and Chiron ult to just 2 long-range line abilities able to swing through all of Gamerhub Allstars.
Oh, no.
Tear jumping in, trying to get it. A valiant effort, but probably going to end up leading to his death if
very low here as he tries to escape, but Sunny with the peel may have traded his own life for his soul laners, and that will be the case. Now, he has a shorter respawn timer, so technically on paper that's the right play, but it's still 50 seconds, 45 at this point, so that they're still going to have the pick and enough room to push down this Phoenix.
Yeah, tactical feeding there from the Ymir, getting his solo laner out of that engagement. But still, like you mentioned, there's still quite a few 30 seconds left on that Ymir as the rest of Gamerhub is just now respawning. And when you look at those staggered death timers there, that's the really good sign for Gridlock that you really won the fight. But man, it puts a big hamper on Gamerhub's chances to come back as they're able to just kind of walk down. They got that tier 2, then they got the Phoenix, then they get another tier 2. Now they're looking at this mid lane Phoenix as well.
Sunny's still on spawn. Powwow popped in River's Rebuke as well. They've trapped 2 members inside, and Merlin gets out just barely, but not in time for the consuming power ripping through the team fight. But Typhoon will do the same thing, trading 1 back, and he'll trade his life for it. 2 for 1 so far in favor of Gridlock as they take down the Phoenix. and trying to disengage. Bubbles in a little bit of trouble. Will dash to a teammate to maintain some safety right here, but it's Uller on the front line a little bit too far forward as Deku will pick that one up, and only the 2 tanks remaining for Gridlock. Still a 4v2 in the mid lane. I'm not sure this is the right call. A wall will misalign the Fearless and put him in some more trouble than he bargained for as he gets taken down very low, trying to make his way out of the team fight, but more and more damage keeps coming through, and another dash will be available for Daji in just a second, looking to finish off that kill. Bubbles will take it. Sunny in a rough spot as well. Looking for the deicide is Gridlock, and looking for game number 3 is Gridlock.
They said, hey, look at me, I'm still in mid lane, I'm running away. Don't look at the Titan, Gridlock not falling for it, going straight onto this Titan. They definitely have enough damage here at this point to take it down with the fire minions in the base. Eric gets the kill on the way out, but not enough for Gamerhub Allstars to lock this one down. A solid performance coming out from Gridlock here in this game number 2 off the backs of the Daji, the Morgan Le Fay, and this Chiron. All of them sitting at 9 kills. So really solid performance from the carries on Gridlock, putting the team on their back, doing it for Madden.
And I mean, from game number 1, I feel like we saw the side of Gridlock really struggle. I mean, it would not have been an impossibility, or it would not have been out there to say that Gamerhub held control for the majority of that match. They were winning fights. They felt really confident in their team fight. Any given fight, you could look to Gamerhub to see that synergy and to see those winning fights. But it completely flips on its head in game number 2. I mean, what do you think that Gamerhub have to do here in picks and bans in game number 3 to maybe recreate that game 1 or bounce back at least from that pretty dominant performance from Gridlock?
They need to find something that probably has a little bit better of solo lane pressure. Tier, yes, can get pressure over in that solo lane. Tier into Cerberus. Cerberus is able to still just kind of sit in lane and kind of get away with a lot of the stuff that he wants to. I think this Daji, Gridlock obviously answered it with those solo invades, and while the Susan had a really good showing in game number 1, didn't really show out in game 2. So maybe look to switch up the jungle pick, something that's going to be a little bit better for those invades on that side of the map, if that is where you're still looking to put a lot of your pressure.
Well, let's see if they can bounce back into game number 3 after some analysis from our desk. I'll throw it to you guys.
Thank you, Frog and Narwhal. Appreciate that. First of all, oops. All maces, go ahead and pick that up in your local cereal aisle. Second of all, I feel like my neck is feeling a little sore. I think I'm suffering for a bit of whiplash. I mean, what a turnaround for Gridlock here in game 2.
I'm sorry, I was muted there. Game 1 was a bit of it seemed like Gamerhub had a lot of team camaraderie. They really knew where to be. They really knew how to accent each other in game 1. They had the Hell for the healing. They had the Athena for global presence and being able to engage into fights whenever they wanted to. They had the Kraken, which had a ton of solo pressure. And Gridlock did a great plan, which was, hey, we want to see how this team looks without a Kraken. We want to see how this team looks without a Hell, and we want to see how they play without those gods. And to their success, they worked out for Gridlock, and they were able to take advantage. I want to really highlight a couple points like at least one point in the game. There was about 17 minutes in the game. We saw Raigai Gamaras go over and focus and get the Draugr, which is a global notification to everybody on the map. And it happened to be that Uller was over there, Wrench and Clink was over there, and he heard that and he knew, oh hey, the Chiron probably doesn't have his abilities up. But here's the thing. Raigai knew that Big Mama Bubbles was going to meet him at the flagpole. And what I mean by that was as soon as Raigai Gamara stepped away and the Uller engaged on the Chiron, Daji was on top of the Uller, forced him and killed him right there. And that is the difference between ranked and competitive. That is the sole difference in the communication that you have, and you say, I can do this, I know where this person is, let's set up a bait, let's set up something that works where we can take advantage of someone overcommitting. and they were able to take advantage of the Uller overcommitting, thinking that he was all alone. Meanwhile, the Daji came over and cleaned up. So competitive is so much fun for that reason, because you're able to make plays that are dynamic, that are more well thought out, that influence manipulation, and just someone thinks that everything's going a certain way, and then boom, you do one thing and it flips the entire team fight on its head. So plays like that are really what inspire me to really enjoy competitive play or competitive games in general. But yeah, it seemed like Gridlock was just on more uh, comfort. I mean, Big Mama Bubbles was making plays all across the map with that Palo Assault. She was just up and down, and she was quick casting it too. She was one and pull, two and pull. Uh, to her own misfortune, I think she got hit by a Susano ult around Red Buff when they were defending at one point. Which, hey, sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. Most of the game worked out for her, and that time it didn't. But she was definitely more of a presence on the Dowji than she was the Red Tasker the game before. And I would like to see her on a lot more of a high pressure guide, influencing across the map, because she seemed very comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I wonder, Rat is in an interesting place for me. I think, one of the things coming into season 8 that was traditionally thought about Rat is that eventually you would have to buy hybrid items so that he would stay relevant late game, and even then his late game wasn't very great. Daji right now just incredibly good in all aspects. I mean, it's very tough to say that she's not at least in the top 10 of junglers, right? Where I definitely wouldn't put Rat necessarily up there, and part of that is because she does so well with those mace items.
Right. Yeah. I think Rat has a lot of purpose and value. If you're going up against something like an on her or like a Soul and like the duo lane, or you're going against something super early game where you need to create reverse pressure, where you need to counter their ability to force your resources, your relics, your mana, or your health. If you're facing really early game gods, Red Tasker complements countering that really well, because they're able to rotate really fast and able to get in and out and be kind of like shifty. So, as far as the ret, it makes a lot of sense to be able to influence the game early and to push pressure across the map. Prior to 15 minutes, probably 17 minutes at the most. But outside of that, they're going to be an ult bot, really trying to dive the backline and get relics, and they can't do as much potentially as the Daji can late game. I just think that Gridlock played their comp really well. There was a point at one point where Gamerhub came back, and I think they picked Slight. Was that in the fire pit or around the fire pit? And they did exactly what they were supposed to do, which was look for a pick when we're down 10k gold. They found a pick with Slight was out of position, and they decided that they were going to engage, and they took him out of the picture. Now they have a 4v5, and hey, that's a great idea. Unfortunately, the amount that they were down, the experience and the gold, the itemization and the damage that was coming out of Gridlock was just too much to overcome for Gamerhub.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right once again, and we will transfer right into picks and bans, see what changes are made. I'm curious to see if they do opt to go back to that Susanoo or not. Plenty of great picks. I mean, there's so much that I feel like you could ban for meta, as well as ban for comfort. Maybe banning that Susanoo might not be a bad idea. Just just to make Dr. Phil uncomfortable. I mean, he seems to kind of want to go back to that pick a lot. That's always a possibility. The hell, obviously, I think good call for Gridlock.
If I am sailing Sunny and I am the Gamerhub Allstars, I am going, hey, they've Gridlock decided that they knew how we want to play. Let's go to option B. Let's go to whatever else you have in the bag, because you guys, I'm sure that that Sailing Sunny and his team has played together so much. They've got an option B. They have an alternative option to go, hey, let's throw this team a curveball, because they adapted to us and now they know how we want to play. So let's do something a little bit different, throw it off just a little bit, and really just close out this set. Really make it so that we can send this one home. I think it's up to Gamerhub to really create or recreate a team comp that they've been successful with before, that isn't one that they've played in these past two games.
What about maybe like a Cthulhu the Morgan combo? What do you think about that? That might be pretty nice.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
on the table.
I love Cthulhu. I love Cthulhu. I love Morgan. Morgan's a lot of value. Cthulhu, kind of forces you to go into that Soul Reaver, into that Kins. You have to really fix your itemization, not really prioritize uh, crit as much. But then when you do that, it means that you can go high pressure, high burst jungler. That's kind of a thought process that you go through where you're like, do you force the ADCs to go into a Kins or a crit build, and then they're confused because all we know is to left click. All we know is to do this, right? That's the only thing we know how to do in the entire game. So going into a more healthy status with like a Cthulhu and then a Morgan to potentially create a second Cthulhu or another dive heavy assassin or something would be very would be something different that they hadn't done in the first two games.
Yeah. Bans though, however, look pretty similar. They Gamerhub actually opting to perhaps make the Cerberus uncomfortable as Cerberus is banned away. So Gridlock's solo laner gonna have to pick something else.
Yeah, I don't know about the servers ban. I guess if you don't want the same solo lane matchup that you've had the past two games and you get rid of it. But there's other value there. There's still, I mean, I know Gilgamesh isn't as strong as he was before he got nerfed, but Gilgamesh is still there. Odin's still there. Morgan Le Fay is still there, which and it gave them an issue last game. You also have Uller, which they're banning out now, but there's so much value. And I feel like Cerberus, unless you're planning on compounding it with other CC ults or like large CC ults, isn't the most important thing to get rid of. Ultimately, Gamerhub thought that it is, but I kind of disagree with the ban.
Yeah, well, Persephone Hover. I was gonna ask if they should have not banned Gabin instead. First picked that option, but instead, this Persephone kind of making more sense of that decision.
Yeah, purse is huge. And the nice thing about getting it early is that now the entire team of Gamer Hub is going, which gods can we pick to have CC immune ults? Or which gods can we select to make sure that we can clear Persephone's ult as fast as possible? So now Gamer Hub is in their head. Now Gamer Hub is having to force to go, how do we counter this, right? And you only have 90 seconds with the bank time, so you only have so much time. But Persephone is a huge pick. I'd like to see something like an Ares come out of here. I'd like to see that Daji again. That Daji looked very productive last game. I would really like to see some follow up with it. But if not, I mean, any more CC heavy ults. Obviously, Cerberus is gone, but Ares or Daji really valuable here.
Yeah, well, they're gonna opt to grab an Athena and a Susano. Athena's ultimate technically CC immune, so might be able to get out. Susano's maybe in a bit of a stickier situation though.
Yeah, I mean, Susano, he didn't play bad last game. He played very well the first game. Seemed like he was really in sync with his solo lane majority wise, and caused big Mama Bubbles to be over in solo lane more than she wanted to. She really wanted to make an impact more across, but it was really up to Susano that forced her over to solo. So it's clearly a comfort pick. He really feels like he's doing enough with it, and so that's why he's going to go with it. And I think he has done enough with it. Maybe just last game he didn't complement his team as the best as possible, but maybe it's a give and take of one helping the other. The Athena made a huge impact in game one, and I'm excited to see how they can. I mean, obviously it was a comfort pick. They picked it at the sixth pick in the first game. Now they're picking it as the first overall pick on their side, second overall pick altogether, and I'm really excited to see if they can complement their team again as they did in the first game.
Well, Gridlock picked up Odin, and the reason why I want to bring up this pick specifically is because Odin, if you're not aware, Odin and Persephone have a very interesting interaction with their ultimates, where Persephone's ultimate just disappears if it hits Odin Cage. Um, Not a great time. I don't know if that's been patched out yet, but last time I played, it was still in there. So hopefully that's not still in there, and if it is, we'll see how they have to play around that. We'll have to be a little bit smarter using those abilities in sync with one another. But you've already talked about how great Odin is, and I think this Tia or Scylla pick, not too bad. Gonna be able to get out of that Odin cage.
Yeah, I think Gridlock's Odin pick does a couple things, right? It creates, it forces your picks on Gamer Hub to be leaps or dashes to be able to get outside of the load and dash. The other thing that it does, it gets in Gamerhub head, and they go, "Well, we can't pick that Hell again because Hell's going to be shut down by this Odin, or any type of healing in general is going to be picked up by Odin, right?" So, I mean, the Hell obviously was banned originally, but any other like second half team fighting, maybe like a Yamoja, or I mean, obviously we have an Athena here, but a Chang'e or Aphrodite, anything like that, any kind of second half, even a Guan Yu, second half healing is now out of the picture because of the Odin pick.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm curious because we're looking at bans here. Gamerhub opting to ban the Chiron and the Hunbats, but a Wheelish is still available, and if Gridlock can play it, it might not be a bad idea because that puts Gamerhub in the awkward situation of do we pick Leaps to get out of Odin Cage or not because they've gotten a Wheelish.
Yeah, I mean that Daji is still up. I'm not seeing it banned. I'm not seeing it picked, right? And I mean, what better way to bring people back into Odin Cage than a Daji ult, right? And Daji looked so good last game. It's like it's a no-brainer here, right? It's got like I'll probably look like an idiot, but it's probably a guaranteed bet that Gridlock picks it up, right? But if they don't, it is what it is. But um, I mean, the Gamerhub All-Stars team really seems like they're an all-in team. They're all trying to commit on one source, and Gridlock looks like they're trying to control that area. And here we go with a Ravana hover, and I'm completely wrong with the Daji being picked up for game 3.
Yeah,
uh,
very, very interesting. Kind of unfortunate that Gamerhub already selected their jungler, right? Unless you're feeling really bold and wanting to flex that into solo. They weren't really left with the option to pick a Dodgy because I mean, Odin and Yamoja, I mean, those are great picks to have if you are in a Wheelish. But unfortunately, they do have the Susano, and I mean, Izanami and Ravana also being picked up. Izanami kind of weird, right? Because Izanami has traditionally been seen as like a win lane lose game sort of god, but with some of the item changes, she was playing very very well with that like Silver Branch build, and then like the post Silver Branch crit hybrid build. But now that we're looking at more like the Mace Tree ability based, where do you figure she fits in?
I mean, attack speed is still isn't bad. Kins is still getting built. You still have potentially Ikaville being built. You still have items that like Aussie being built. Attack speed's not out of the picture. Maces are favored because of their cheapness and their overall value as far as damage and penetration. But attack speed's not out of the picture, and she presents that early game pressure that game one when we first looked at it, and it was like a Jingwei versus a Rama, right? And we saw two guys that were having a late game laning phase, and they really didn't seem like they were having a great time. Game two, we had an Uller versus Chiron. They both were fighting more. They were both like trying to push each other around. It was more exciting and more eventful. I think that's what they wanted to do again because they knew that their strong point as far as individual play was early game. So we see the Soul, we see the Izanami come out, and I think Dual Lane's going to have some fireworks with those two potentially. And yeah, this if Gridlock decides that they want to control where Gamerhub wants to be, they're going to control where Gamerhub wants to be, and it's up to Gamerhub to not be grouped up as much as possible in order to protect their team and all their individual lives. And we'll see. I think it'll be interesting to see if who coordinates it best. That's really what it comes down to. Whoever coordinates their team fight the best, and whoever controls what their team is doing the best.
Well, we will get to see who does, in fact, coordinate the best as we, once again, for the final time, throw it over to Frog and Narwhal.
Game 3. Gridlock on the left side of your screen. Gamerhub All-Stars on the right side of your screen. We've seen an eventful game number 1, an action-packed game number 2. Both of them seem pretty one-sided. Gamerhub perhaps dominating game number 1, Gridlock dominating game number 2. And now we see, coming into game number 3, a number of things have stayed the same. Rogue Pie finding his success in the Emoja goes back to that pick. Sunny in game number 1 had a great game on the Athena going back to that pick. Both dual laners have changed. Yet another jungle switch up from Bubbles. But it's this solo lane that I want to start off at, because that has been the key to both game number 1 and game number 2, I would argue. That pressure over in the right-hand side of the lane, right-hand side of the map, has been critical for both of these teams.
Yeah, exactly. And I know you mentioned it. Game number 3 here coming out. This is the game that everybody lives for, everybody wants to see. Most nerve-wracking for both of these teams. So interested to see, our nerves going to play a little bit of a factor coming into this game. But Odin, definitely one of those really strong gods over there in that solo lane. Already getting bullied out by this Achilles.
Wow.
Achilles is definitely going to be able to bully the lane a lot more than what Odin is, especially in these early levels there with the stun and the double dashes already. Just putting out the damage onto this Odin, who did end up going the Chalice and 4 health pots, so he's going to be able to sustain up as long as he just plays back a little bit.
Yeah, I would say Horror of the Deep definitely has the advantage here when it comes to straight up fighting. Odin is a very burst reliant character. But it is this difference in team fights that you're really looking for the Odin to provide. That Cage ultimate is just going to can completely, fundamentally, really change how you want to fight these team fights, where you're looking for the ultimate, how you're looking to position. Just a number of things on these rotations can impact. So even from behind, I think Slight is definitely going to have a good opportunity to impact some of these fights. But it's ton of damage coming out, and maybe this is why we saw Persephone banned away from Deku in game 1 and game 2. He finally gets to pick it up in this third game, and already looking good on it to start.
Yeah, Deku there had to stand still for a little bit of second and admired just all that damage that he was able to put out there with that leap, popping 4 plants all at once and just massacring the Susanoo's health bar. But one thing that we didn't get a chance to really talk about just yet is Gamerhub is able to go back to this Athena pick here. Sailing Sunny had a really solid performance on it in game number 1. Went away from it in game 2, took the Ymir instead of the Athena there, and electing to come back to it here in this game 3. That was a huge impact in their win. I thought was just how much rotation ability this Athena was able to have on point with a lot of the ultimates. Easy setup with those taunts, and Athena taunts into big burst damage is typically a good thing, and one of the best gods at big burst damage is this Scylla, which they now have in mid lane.
Yeah, definitely some good follow-up for Sunny on this Athena. And I think they had shades of that in game number 1 as well, and were absolutely successful. As you're right, they go back to this pick. But continuing to be some trading back and forth in this dual lane. It looks like they want to continue the fight. Leading on the taunt is Sunny, but does not get the cooldown back up in time. And as much as we can talk about how much of an effect Sunny had in game number 1, I think it would be remiss of us to not talk about how much of a bounce back Rogue Pie had in game number 2 on this Umoja.
Yeah, that was another interesting one. I'm kind of surprised Gamerhub did not elect to ban away this Umoja, considering how impactful those ultimates and the healing were coming out. But Athena just low on mana. Got the beads out from Ryguy there, able to walk away. I think if Athena had a little bit more mana, that taunt may have been up, and that very well could have been a dead Izanami there.
Yeah, very close to falling early on for Ryguy, as this is the longest in the game so far, at least from game 1 to game 2. This is the longest that we've had without a first blood, if I recall correctly. In game number 1, it was a dual lane fight that led to that. In game number 2, it was a solo kill over in the solo lane, and we're still 4 minutes, maybe even getting to 5 minutes in here, and no kills on either side of the map. So already starting off a bit slower across the board for both teams.
I think that's going to be typical of what you'll see in this level of play, especially in a playoff situation like this. I mean, this could be the last game for either one of these teams. One of these teams is not going to continue their season here with us in the AGL.
What a cage from Slight to save his life there. Massive shout out to the cage. Just, wow, able to prevent the solo kill there, falling early, and stays on his feet instead. And we talked about how Achilles might have the advantage in these fights, and he certainly does so far. but so far no blue invades off of that, right? It's been consistently Ravana at this blue buff, helping out his Odin, making sure he's not getting invaded, and Susano hasn't shown up on this map, or shown up on the right side of the map practically at all since that first speed buff spawner, and since his speed buff spawns, right? He comes back for that, but hasn't shown up at the blue buff at all.
Again, kind of going back to my point, you know, this is win or go home type of game. So a lot of these teams, you know, maybe looking to play a little bit safer. No one wants to make that first mistake, because the first mistake, as soon as it gets made, you know, it can really mess with your mentals. And that's where these game threes, you know, these elimination games really come out and show, you know, how strong a lot of these teams are. You know, if you can keep your mentals in the right spot and are able to bounce back from mistakes, or just not make mistakes at all coming into these games, is going to be a huge boon to your team, and can really swing games one way or the other.
Well, I will say Gridlock managed to secure first blood in both Game 1 and Game 2, but only won one of those games. So the first blood may not be of that critical importance that we think it is, but finally some pressure over here on the right side of the map from Phil, but he'll come over to help to secure his blue buff, and that'll be about it, as Rogue Pie under some pressure as well. Good double stun will make a rough spot for the enemy team trying to dash out, but a Ravana ultimate and a good River's Rebuke puts him in a rough spot. Deku finishes off for first blood. Monster, I'm a Monster, comes out, does some good damage there, but a good disengage after first blood, and that's a third first blood in a row for Gridlock.
Really, really, really good wall coming out from Rogue Pie, almost entirely blocking off the exit and entrance to that jungle from the mid lane there. Susano, solo kill coming out in the duo lane, as we see a little bit of skerfuffle here, but again, really good walls coming out from that Umoja, locking on that Susano. Easy setup for the...
This fight's going on really long, and he'll get the kill. He's trying to 1v2, and he's having a good time of it right now. Odin in a rough spot will get chased out, looking for the final ability. Will be Horrors of the Deep getting that double kill, and triple kill for him across the board. And as quick as that happens, 5 kills all of a sudden for Gamerhub. It went from no action to quite a bit of action very, very quickly.
Yeah, we went 0 to 100 real quick. Drake might be coming at us with a copyright infringement there with how fast all those kills came through on the map. Huge power spike now for Horrors of the Deep, with a 2-level lead over his counterpart over there. And what was an even solo lane at one point is now completely blown out, and Achilles is going to have a really easy time kind of moving around the map. And, you know, that's one of those you look at as Gridlock. Mistakes are starting to pile up now, even though they all just happened all at once. So you look at how well your mental can be to bounce back from, you know, getting completely wiped off the map on every single lane.
Yeah, I mean, that was not a good turn for them in the very least of words. So a good jump for Gamerhub Allstars will skyrocket them to about a 2,000 gold lead at this stage of the game, just all of a sudden after pretty much an even game past that. But despite those 5 kills coming out, it's definitely not lost on us that Gridlock has fought back into these before, having some good moments in game number 1 and certainly having several in game number 2, but trying to come out onto Wrench and Clink. He got the solo kill earlier, but it's a 3v2 over in the left-hand side. Defender of Olympus forced out, so 2 members coming over here. That solo ult will get forced out, and great heal from the taunt will save his ADC for the time being. May put himself in a rough spot, but Ravana not wanting to go in on that one, and Sunny saving the ADC's life.
Oh, amazing job there coming out from Sailing Sunny. That taunt was huge to get Wrench and Clink on that soul out of there, and then able to get out themselves. Drew enough ire from Gridlock to get themselves out, but in a little bit of trouble here now in the mid lane. I think she's got the Jazz charged up. She should
Sunny
be all right.
Under a little bit of pressure there, you're right, but not enough damage coming out from Bubbles on this Ravana so far, and a slower start from him, absolutely, in game number 2 compared to his game number 3, and compared to his game number 2 performance on the Daji. It felt like he was determining the pace of the game at every opportunity. Another cage will trap Horrors of the Deep under the tower, but will not lead to his doom and will not save his life this time. So just continued aggression and continued dominance over there for Hearts of the Deep.
Yeah, Achilles sitting at 4-0-0, 2-level lead, has his Mystical Mail online, looking to build into, could be a Pestilence, could be a Bulwark of Hope. Either one of those items going to be very beneficial to him. He's got the lead. He's going to be pressing the gas pedal. I'm looking to the Gold Fury Scorpion is still down though. Neither team electing to pick that up just yet, which, you know, as of right now, this is favoring Gridlock not having that objective on the map. Gridlock doesn't have to worry about Gamerhub grouping up to take these Gold Furies. So if I'm Gamerhub, I'm looking to try to drop that Gold Fury Scorpion down and then take a fight with Horrors of the Deep and then turn that into a Gold Fury.
And like Sunny looking for an engage here, does not manage to hit the taunt, so we'll be quiet for the time being. But we've seen Gamerhub have the advantage here. This is very similar to game number 1. I feel like a huge advantage over in the soul lane for Horrors of the Deep. A solo kill giving ADC a minor advantage. Wrench having a good game on that soul so far, 1 level up. And while there hasn't been much action in the mid lane, there still has been some action in the mid lane, contrary to game number 1. And it will be another small lead on the Scylla. So Gamerhub having a lead on every single one of their players at least 1 level right now, in a fantastic position to try and start a fight. And Hearts of the Deep on the left side of the map looks to do just that. Trying to go in on this is a Nami. Likely has to dash up. Good cancel out, and Defender of Olympus will come in to try and help out. But a good River's Rebuke will secure his ADC's escape. And Persephone's on the way if they want to re-engage, but that won't be the call for the time being. Just a full disengage from Gridlock.
Yeah, really good pathing there from Ryan, electing not to go back. The obvious route is just run straight back to your tower, but instead electing to go into the jungle, which completely fooled Horrors of the Deep. Even though Horrors of the Deep elects to stay around, gets the execute onto Ryan. Not much you can really do there once your dash is already expended and he's already back on top of you. But
yeah.
Again, we're looking at this Gold Fury Scorpion is still down. This Odin has been sitting over here in solo lane by himself, getting all this free farm, pushing down the Horror's tower as well. So while yes, these rotations have been beneficial for him, they've gotten a kill off of it. Not having the Gold Fury up and allowing this Odin to crawl back into the game is not necessarily where you want to be.
It looks like he's traded at least a little bit of his lead to give his soul a larger lead, and that's certainly going to be beneficial when you see that this soul's electing to go into the Bancroft's talent first item. I mean, equivalent to maybe Ickable not when you're talking about item effects, but when you're talking about aggression gain, you know, ability to box into the enemy ADC. If you want to be aggressive early, Bancroft's is that item.
Yeah, Bancroft is an interesting first one, though. Typically, when I've seen Souls played, a lot of times they go into that Typhon's Fang first because, you know, it gives you the lifesteal and the pen, as in addition to, you know, just the sheer power that it has, as well as, Ryan ended up being able to pick up the Soul as it looked like they were fighting over that Draugr there in duo lane.
And it looks like that may actually give Gridlock the opportunity to start looking at this Gold Fury first, but
yep.
3 members from each team now on this side of the map, and a 4th will arrive here first. Horrors of the Deep here before Odin to make an impact, and it's on the back. Deku forced into the ultimate, but the Typhoon's going his direction. Good beads will save his life for the time being, but the execute comes out, and he gets healed just in time, so he'll maintain for the time being. Weak members in the backline trying to escape, but it'll be Horrors of the Deep taking out one before Phil falls. 1 for 1 so far. Looking for another one is Bubbles, and Scylla trying to escape won't be successful, but another fight going on in the backline. It's 2 low members for the side of Gridlock trying to stay away from Horrors, but he's using this lead to the best of his ability. It'll be taken out finally by the Odin, it looks like, trapped in the purple buck. The Ryguy will finally take that one out, and what a bounce back from Gridlock.
Yeah, that's really what Gridlock wanted to see. You know, again, that Gold Fury Scorpion not being down. I'm going to harp on it as much as possible because it's a very important aspect to how this game has played out so far. Gold Fury then spawned, and you already had the Soul get picked over in that duel lane, which allowed Gridlock to kind of rotate to that Gold Fury and maybe look at pulling it for themselves, knowing that they were going to have the 4v5, even though Horrors had the huge lead earlier, rotated over. They didn't really get, they got the tower, but that was about it, and then they got the Gold Fury Scorpion. But not having the Soul there, and then Horrors dives super deep. Really good heal coming out from Rogue Pie with the Yamoja there, just barely ticking up Deku just enough to stop the execute from connecting from Horrors of the Deep, which, you know, if that execute connected, he's got another 10 seconds that he can execute another player, and there was a lot of low health bars right next to him. So that single heal, while it may not seem like much, that one heal onto Deku to save his life could have been a huge aspect to that. And I mean, that just left both of the carries there, the Scylla and the Dr. Phil, were left to their own devices to a full health Ravana, who already had Jotuns and Erendite built, so doing a ton of damage at this point.
Yeah, Rogue Pie maybe the savior of that fight, but Bubbles is absolutely the aggressor, able to take down 3 members in the backline, takes down Phil first. Scylla without a dash is caught on the end second, and Eric isn't able to make an impact in that fight because of that, and Bubbles finally coming alive in that fight is really a huge aspect of what allowed them to win the fight, but they didn't get to pull the Gold Fury off of that, so it's still anyone's game as Rogue Pie gets caught out a little bit, and still we see both solo laners on this side of the map, 5 members from each team, ready to get into a brawl, and all 10 ultimates available across the board, so I fully expect us to break out here soon.
Yeah, you can tell both of these teams really want that Gold Fury. They really want to push the envelope now that the little bit of lull and downtime that we had at the beginning of the game, where people it seemed like they're, you know, maybe just a little bit afraid to get the game up and going. But once these kills start rolling through, both of these teams are like, all right, now they're finding their groove. Maybe they shook the nerves out a little bit, and you know, it's just another game of Smite to both of them. Even though there's a lot on the line here, both of them just trying to play their game to the best of their abilities. You know, Gamerhub is going to have the objective secure though over Gridlock with that Scylla, so even if Gridlock pulls this objective, the steal potential is going to be there from Gamerhub.
That was a rough ultimate coming out of Guy. Severely lowers their steal potential and does not get him any closer to getting kills. But Rogue Pie stuck out in the front line, Horrors of the Deep doing some good zoning in the back line. Probably could have gone in right there, but it's a missed I'm a Monster to start the fight instead for Gamerhub. Typhoon gets thrown out as Phil tries to escape and does do so successfully. 4 members alive still for Gridlock as this Gold Fury gets started up from Gamerhub, doing a good job of zoning out Guy. But still, 3 other members on the map choosing not to go towards this Gold Fury at all. They will let this one go, and Gamerhub will take the victory and an early gold lead.
Soul blowing the ultimate there on that Gold Fury as well. Not sure if that one was necessary or not. Probably didn't need it. There didn't look like Gridlock was going to aggress onto it at that point anyways, but Scylla had a really great start to that engagement there, used the ultimate to pick up Rogue Pie, and then was able to get another ultimate off in there. But yeah, I really would have liked to see Horrors of the Deep go back in. You had that Athena ult on you. It's a bunch of damage and drawing the team closer together, so could have turned around and fought in. May have not seen that Athena was ulting on top of him, but elected to take the safe route instead. Still secures a Gold Fury for their team. They do trade out Pyromancer, does Gridlock, so at least they got a little bit of something coming back for them.
Looks like they trade out the Pyromancer and the Draugr on the left side of the map, and that gold lead is only catapulted to 1,000. I mean, they had a larger gold lead earlier on in the game after they got those 5 initial kills, and now after winning a fight and getting the Gold Fury, the gold lead isn't as large. So still either team able to fight into this, and it's less about the gold at this point, and even less about the XP, and more about how these ultimates get used and how the positioning is and how these fights go specifically. Towards the duel lane specifically, we've seen solo kills go both ways. And now we see yet another engagement, Defender of Olympus towards the left lane. Thought he was in a little bit of trouble, got scared there, but nothing coming out of that, only an ultimate expended as Now we'll spend a little bit of time maybe waiting until these objectives spawn back up again for any serious fights to come out. Guy maybe not aware of that word on the Gold Fairy, takes some unnecessary poke, but trying to avoid unnecessary poke is Phil in the backline, and Harzadib on this trade trying to help out his teammate, and will get that double stun, but not close enough is Eric to get off that damage. So just a pick going in favor of Gridlock.
Yeah, good recognition there by Big Mama Bubbles, knowing that Scylla wasn't nearby, and you really only had Horrors of the Deep and Dr. Phil that were going to be there to back up the Susano, who just kind of got caught out there in his own jungle. So, I mean, it's not really his fault for being there. It's Big Mama Bubbles' fault for walking in his jungle looking for kills, but taking advantage of that. But only 3 items so far built on this Scylla, and we saw just how much damage they're able to do to these carries, already half-healthing the Izanami with that combo.
Great for Tiffany ultimate onto Sailing Sunny. Will try and keep members locked in, and Athena will fall first. 2 low members, though, on the side of Gamerhub in the backline, and Wrench trying to escape from this will do so successfully for the time being. Bad Rivers of Rebuke won't catch out anybody, and so Gamerhub will try and escape for the time being, but they don't look satisfied with this, and Phil's back from respawn now, doesn't look satisfied either. Typhoon picking up the first one, and 2 members in execute range. First one gets taken down, second one gets taken down. Triple kill so far for Heart of the Deep, looking for the Quadra. Still will help him out a little bit. Will get stolen from Wrench, but what a play from Hearts of the Deep, and Gamerhub bounce back.
Oh, bad teammates not giving the man his quadra kill. Poor positioning coming out from Gridlock there. You had 2 people in execute range. One person was not. Just body block the ult, and that doesn't happen. But instead, they're Gamerhub able to clean house, get the deicide for themselves. The quadra kill stolen away from Horrors of the Deep, but he's sitting at 9, 1, and 2 right now. Level 18 coming out of this solo lane, having a huge impact in this game so far.
Yeah, I mean, we were worried about it early on in the game when he got that lead, and he definitely makes use of it there in that team fight. Phil coming back from base, able to have some help as well, but they're looking for this Fire Giant now. Not falling super low, is not enough members here to try and make that happen. Eric a little bit late to the objective call, but now with Rogue in the area, looks like they're going to be a little bit hesitant to call this for the future. Yeah, so they're going to back up.
A lot of low mana bars there for Horrors of the Deep and Wrench and Clinks. So electing to just take the safe spot back up, spend a lot of that gold that you got. And again, I want to go back to that fight a little bit. Gridlock looked like they had the perfect engagement. They defended that tier 1. The Persephone ult came through with just like almost a perfect Persephone ult into the Odin cage. And then Izanami there just dove too deep under that tier 1 alone and just kind of got caught. And from that point, Gamerhub was able to push it. But Gamerhub putting themselves in an opportune spot here to set up for this Fire Giant with the next big objective on the map. There is a Primal Fury still up. It is a little bit early to maybe consider this Fire Giant. You definitely have the damage and secure to do it. But you may even look at just grabbing up that Primal Fury, just furthering your lead a little bit further before pulling this FG.
Well, they're not satisfied with that, as Athena picks up the Fire Giant. Rogue Pie is definitely aware of this one, and so is the rest of Gridlock as a result. It's not falling that fast, though. Still high health bar, and they'll back off for the time being, despite 23 minutes. Seems like an okay time to pull the Fire Giant, but they're a little bit hesitant to start off instead, and Sailing Sunny will take some poke as a result of their hesitancy, but Hearts of the Deep, no stranger to going in, and Rogue Pie is going to be the target to start it off, but both teams struggling to find that right window into the engagement.
Yeah, no real fear coming out as Athena ult gets channeled back in. Gamerhub looking to continue this engagement, but there's a Umoja on the other side. She doesn't even need to back. She can just kind of sit here and heal up the team. But great taunt coming out onto Big Mama Bubbles.
Will force the Ravana to ultimate out, and Bubbles trying to get out, but the bubble gets popped, and Achilles on the front side, and a good Odin cage will save him from yet another execute, but a trade back onto Sunny, sailing away, and will not be able to participate in the rest of this fight. A 4v4 at this stage of the game, and higher health bars for Gamerhub may allow them to pull the Fire Giant.
Yeah, slightly higher health bars for now, but again, you still have the Emoji sustain that's going to be able to come through. Just going to auto attack her teammates and then throw a bunch of that damage out. Oh, Dr. Phil, half health from that Persephone. I believe that was her one. Just a ton of damage coming out from Persephone at this point. Level 18, Soul Reaver, Divine Ruin, Soul Gem, Chronos Pendant already built. That's a lot of damage, as Phil Swift would say.
Yeah, that is a lot of damage coming out, and looks like Gamerhub did not feel as confident as I thought they might after that fight, electing to not pull the Fire Giant, and we'll have this dance be extended a little bit longer with this Primal Fury looking to go the way of Gridlock. This gold lead, 5,000 now for Gamerhub, as they've had victories in a couple of fights since we last talked about that gold lead, but truthfully, it's the experience lead that I'm really focused on right now. I think a number of level 20 members for the side of Gamerhub All-Stars, and still waiting on notably Odin and notably Persephone to hit that level 20, as Persephone does tick over just as we're watching her. But it's really those upgraded starter items that I'm looking towards right now, and Scylla is already on the board with that gem of focus.
Yeah, and again, we see Rogue Pie for 3 games in a row now has consistently been either a level or 2 down to even 3 to 4 levels down to the counterpart on Gamerhub. But, you know, with Emoji, you can still be down in levels and still have a really solid impact, since, you know, your leveled abilities are really only going to affect up to that around level 13, you know, when you finally start putting more points into your Riptide and then into your ultimate. But Sailing Sunny here on this Athena has maybe sitting at 0-3 and 7, but those 7 assists have been massive for Gamerhub.
Yeah, and he is maintaining that huge lead that he had in game 1 against the Ymir, but Rogue Pie definitely in a better position on this character of all characters to maintain his effect in a number of these team fights. He is a little bit more range, so he doesn't have to put himself necessarily in the front lines, but choosing to do so here, gets taunted back in, takes about 30% of his HP bar, but will be able to just heal that right back up. So no problems for him as he tries to clear out that ward vision for his team. And stepping up once again, now with more members in the area, might get taken down to a lower health bar. 2 members getting pulled back in, and Rogue Pie bit off a little bit more than he can chew. It'll be a pick for Gamerhub.
Yeah, Rogue Pie there thought, oh, hey, the first time I went up, I didn't get punished for this, so clearly I can definitely do it again. Clearly they're not going to notice me and have more people standing nearby. But Gamerhub on point as Horrors of the Deep zoning away and Fire Giant getting pulled. Scylla ultimate for the confirm. Odin attempting the steal, may pay for it with his life. Or...
Yeah, we'll get stuck in a bad spot here in the backline, but Susano going to clean that one up with the Typhoon. Tons of damage coming out, and that I'm a Monster, the best secure on the map by a pretty good margin, I would say, and does secure the Fire Giant as it's intended. And they'll take that one, they'll look for the tier 2, and they might have the proper picks for this Phoenix if they choose to push for it, but we'll see if they're in the right mindset to a couple ultimates down on their side, and it looks like they're just going to elect to take down towards the left tier 2 tower, if I had to guess.
Yeah, Soul, one of the best tower pushers in the game. Already sitting there with the Bumba Spear upgrade as well. Something additional about Bumba Spear, if Soul gets the last hit on the tower, she's going to heal for percentage health of that tower, or of that objective. So Soul, you know, even if you just kind of leave her alone, she's going to be able to heal back up, especially with that Bancroft's Typhon's Fang, Spear of the Magus, Telkine's Ring. Soul has a ton of healing coming out. That's another thing that we just noticed. Odin electing to go the Brawler's Beatstick to try and help apply some anti-heal here. Maybe that was one of the reasons he got blown up so fast from that Susano after he jumped in. Just quite not enough protections coming out. You know, on the other side here with this Achilles, electing to go this Blackthorn Hammer last item, which is not really an item that you see picked up late. Blackthorn is better suited, in my opinion, for, you know, the early game when you need a lot of that mana sustain and you need some of the additional cooldown. I think potentially a Void Shield would have been slightly more beneficial for him here. A little bit more physical protection and shred physical defenses from your opponents.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can build whatever he wants at this point, and his 10-1-4 may carry him. His performance may carry him as he continues to have a major impact in many of these fights. But it is Gamerhub now with the Fire Giant. They've taken down all the towers off the side of Gridlock, whereas Gridlock still has 5 out of the remaining 6 towers to take down. So Gridlock do not just need to win 1 fight and they can turn it around and maybe they can take the game off that. They need to win 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 on a Fire Giant, right? I mean, they need to make a serious impact and change Gamerhub's way of fighting and really, you know, understand how to fight back. It can't just be this fluke or 1 fight that they win across the board. They seriously have to dedicate themselves to winning a couple fights if they're going to come back into this, but this might be their opportunity. This siege, last game, in game number 1, excuse me, they had some success on defending this siege, so we'll see if they're able to have that same success here.
Yeah, I think Gridlock's tower defense is, while not necessarily the best, it's going to be good enough here with this Persephone able to just kind of throw the plants out there to clear the wave. You have Rogue Pie going to be able to separate this team fight or this engagement there with the Emoja. And, you know, something to look at if you're, you know, lower level players or players looking to try to figure out how to play Umoja. Where Umoja is standing is right where you want to be as a Umoja. You're looking across the lane so that way when your ult pops up, you completely separate a team fight. But, you know, this is a 4v5 right now with Dr. Phil again split pushing in this mid lane. This split push kind of bit them in the butt in game number 1 when they weren't able to siege that other Phoenix. I really want to see them group up as 5. I believe their 5-man team fight is much better than this split push here that they have coming out, and they're just going to end up backing off and going for this Gold Fury instead.
It looks like they hesitated a little bit too long as Fire Giant very, very close to falling. Yep, just fell off there as we were watching. But yeah, I think if they had waited for that next wave, they either had to go or maybe their Fire Giant would have fallen off right as they were pushing. Was not the best timing, so I think that choice to back up is smart if they're going to wait that long. I also don't think they had to wait that long. I agree. I think Susano being there and Athena has had such good, consistent engages just by using the dash taunt. She doesn't even have, or has not had to make use of the blink successfully in order to have a major impact on these fights. And so I'm a little bit worried of their hesitancy there on the Phoenix, but I can at least understand it due to that leading to Gridlock maybe bouncing back a little bit in game number 1. So they really maybe want to win a fight in the jungle. And since they had some clear success the last time this happened, I don't blame them.
Yeah, I will say I do believe Gamerhub Allstars' jungle fight is much better than Gridlock's. You know, Scylla's able to lock down, you know, pretty large areas with the Crush. You know, Crush is, it doesn't cover the entire lane, but it covers most of these jungle passageways. Is a little bit of fighting coming out here over this Fire Giant. They're just going to back off, heal up a little bit more. But securing this Pyromancer for themselves is Gamerhub Allstars, and the Fire Giant dance begins.
Yeah, blink in from Phil onto his onto the Soul Eater, and Slight gets taken down early. Typhoon rips through, but Phil falls first. Into the air will be that player, and onto the enemy team is the Ravana trying to take out the first. Will take out the ADC, does use that immunity, and gets onto the Scylla is Deku. Eric falls as well, and it's the 2 tanks left on the side of Gamerhub Allstars and trying to escape as Horror of the Deep, and he may be successful running towards the enemy, and Ravana waiting on that CC does hit the root successfully, and coming in on the back line, good taunt from Athena will save him for the time being, and it might look like both tanks right now at least will be able to stay alive. We'll see if they choose to maintain this chase, but it's going to be Gridlock going back towards this Fire Giant for the time being.
Yeah, really good engagement there from Big Mama Bubbles. Picked the opportune moment to ult in, able to finish off Wrench and Clink, and then immediately turn that into the Scylla falling next. It seemed like a little bit of a rush coming out from Gamerhub Allstars, but a good positioning from Gridlock there, especially Deku on this Persephone through the ult and was able to lock down a lot of the initiation coming out from the Allstars there. So good counter engage from Gridlock. Gamerhub maybe needs to look for not just funneling down all in one single file line, maybe trying to spread out a little bit more before engaging here into Gridlock.
Yeah, I think weirdly enough, we can actually call that tactical feeding from Slight, and we can be right, because Slight getting absolutely collapsed on allows for Persephone Deku to hit a essentially 5-man ultimate. That damage coming out from Wrenching Clank pulls the Defender of Olympus onto this side of the map, but they will expend an ultimate to try and keep that soul alive, and they will be successful. But it's now this enhanced Fire Giant on the side of Gridlock, and Gamerhub knows what that means. They are not willing to defend these tier 2s, and I think that's the right call.
Yeah, this game is pretty much going to be back to even once Gridlock wipes these towers. I'm assuming they're probably just going to elect to look for towers, trying to even up this gold lead that Gamerhub has built for themselves. Still a few items left to be built on the side of Gridlock. You're looking at 6th item close to getting completed for the Izanami. Umoja still needs 6th item. Deku on this Persephone just finished that Obsidian Shard. So if we thought Persephone was swinging for a bunch of damage before, she's going to be swinging for a lot more damage right now.
Yeah, and as we see them finish off some of these items, I want to take this opportunity to talk about their siege potential on the side of Gridlock, right? We talked about the jungle fight potential for both teams, and we've now seen both teams have great success in a jungle fight, in a Fire Giant dance over around that objective. And while Gamerhub were a little bit hesitant to go in on the siege, I think that Gridlock have the tools to be successful, especially with that Odin Cage and the River's Rebuke, specifically to go in and find their way into the backline on a Phoenix Siege and potentially win that fight hand over fist.
Yeah, the siege potential for Gridlock is really strong. Obviously, with both of these walls, going to be able to just wall off the Phoenixes.
Look at Achilles. Horrors of the Deep way out in front here, away from his team, and it'll be stunned back.
Should be fine.
He should be fine, not choosing to engage. I was a little bit worried about his positioning right there, but looks like they may try to engage on this Oni Fury, despite the fact that the enhanced Fire Giant is on the side of Gridlock. Rogue Pie taking down to already half HP right there, as Oni Fury has been picked up but now bounced back off of by Gridlock, as they do have the healing to maintain themselves. But Gamerhub Allstars, they were willing to give up that tier 2. They're not willing to give up the Oni Fury. Engagement here. Soul Ultimate takes down Rogue Pie, but members in the backline, and a good Persephone Ultimate locks down Sunny as well. And Dr. Phil and both of them, Sunny will fall as well. Looking for more damage is Slight in the backline, and Bubbles takes the opportunity, takes down Wrenching Clink, looking for Eric, no longer having the dash available, trying to find those last, but will find Slight stepping into that crush, maybe a little bit of an oversight, but will finish off this kill is Bubbles, and that is all members down except for one for Gridlock, and they're looking for this Phoenix. Maybe the game, but hold that thought. Horrors of the Deep trying to find his way into the backline, looking for the execute, but on his way out instead, and this Phoenix will be guaranteed. The question is, can they end the game? Only having the 2 damage dealers, 1 tank available for this Signer. No tanks available, it's all their damage dealers, and the Titans falling fast. Horrors of the Deep has to make an impact here. Takes down 1, looking for the second. It's now the mid and the ADC available to take down this Titan, and Horrors is now fallen. The Titan will fall as well. Gridlock take game.
What a final engagement there from Gridlock. They may have been down in kills, but they are up in this game, securing themselves their victory and moving on in the playoffs. Solid performance coming out from them. Big Mama Bubbles, perfect ultimates on this Ravana, able to get to the backline free and clear every time. Horrors of the Deep on this Achilles put up a great defense there, but just wasn't enough with the 3 damage dealers, enhanced Fire Giant, full builds coming out from those carries on Gridlock.
There's so many things I want to say about this game, but I'm interested in the Death thoughts, and I want to throw it back after an amazing Game 3. Dino, what are your thoughts?
Well, thank you, guys. What an exciting Game 3 that was. I mean, yeah, you weren't sure which way it was gonna go, and then it started to seem like Gridlock was clawing their way back in, and then Rogue Pie goes down, and you're like, oh, well, now they're down a man, and quickly Slight and Big Mama Bubbles take the opportunity, push them back, and the rest of Gridlock are able to finish off of that.
friends, family, teams, fans of AGL, anybody tuning in tonight, anybody that stuck around through all three of these games, this is Albion Giants League Smite. This is competitive Smite, and the most entertaining version of Smite, where there is a thought process, where there is an intention, where there is coordination that you don't get in your ranked games. This is, listen, Gamerhub came into this game as the number 6 seed in their division after the group stages. The number 6 seed, and you wouldn't have thought that after the first game. They played their hearts out and were so productive and put Gridlock into a hole from the get-go. And yet Gridlock coming in here as the number 3 seed were able to overcome that first loss, learn, understand what Gamerhub wanted to do, come back and reverse sweep them. This is AGL. This is a perfect example of the type of competitive environment that we try to portray, with the type of competitive environment that we try to provide for everybody involved. And uh, really unfortunate results for Gamerhub Allstars, because man, they played so well. I mean, at one point in that game 3, they were up 7-1. They were up 7-1 with like a 4K gold lead, and then they had a little tossle around the Goal Fury, and then Gridlock just team fought a little bit better. It seemed like they decided that they wanted, that Gridlock was okay fighting separately, and then ultimately won with it, instead of Gamerhub taking advantage of that lead and committing to one target and then forcing the fight with an odd man advantage. So I just want to say, like, this is the Smite I love. I've been with Smite with AGL since the first season, and I've had always a great time. And I just want to say, like, this is the Smite I love watching. This is the calculated. This is the corrective. This is the collaborative Smite that I love watching. I love playing, and this is the type of content that I just I'm excited to watch.
I mean, this is conquest at its purest form, right? I mean, on one side you have an Achilles that is 11, 2, and 6,
Mhm.
right? I had basically a quadra kill, save somebody being a little greedy there. Basically had a quadra kill, and the team with, if I'm doing quick math here, with less kills, right? Less of a hard carry, right, on their team. They're the team that comes out on top because they played the game of Smite just better. And I mean, hats off to Gridlock. That was just a great performance in game 3.
I will contest. You just said that the team that played Smite better, and I'm not going to discredit Gamerhub, because they played individually very well. They contained their responsibilities throughout the game very well. However, collaboratively, Gridlock was the team that played better in my eyes, because like there was a point when right before a Gold Fury, which Narwhal brought up multiple times, that Gold Scorpion was up for so long, they made it so that they never had to worry about gold being pulled. But when Gold Fury was actually being contested at one point, uh, Rogue Pie on that Emoja came in with a crazy heal, saved, I believe it was Rygai or Deku, with just outside of execute threshold for that Achilles ult, and that's just trusting your team. That's going, hey, you got my back, I got your back. We're fam. You know, like, we're together. You don't have to worry about anything. And that's exactly what was going on in those type of team fights. And although particular engagement didn't go Gridlock's way, ultimately they continued to trust each other. And it was like more of a mindset thing, right? They go, "Oh, you had my back once. All right, I'll trust that you'll have my back the next time we go in." And then if you don't, they still have it in the back of their head where they're like, "Well, before I know I could count on them, so I'm gonna count on them again." And so that kind of trust, that type of camaraderie, is just something that's invaluable in the type of a teamwork game that Smite is, that MOBAs are in general. And it was really cool to see Gridlock kind of be so resilient and just go, "I know this person's got my back. I know I can count on this person." And Gamerhub played their hearts out, man. Great job by Horrors of the Deep, by Sailing Sunny, by his entire team. Eric on that Scylla, but ultimately Gridlock won, and honestly, a great pleasure to watch that game, that entire set.
Yeah, I think that was definitely a close one. Could have gone either way at any moment, especially in game 3. And
Mhm.
and so only one team unfortunately can come out the victor. That's the way playoffs end up working in general, the game of Smite. Before we do end the broadcast, Ted, I do want to give you an opportunity to get any last thoughts off right here on the table in regards to this game.
Man, I really have nothing else. If anything, the only thing I could really say is that Narwhal and Frog did a great job in the cast. I would say that we had the great production of Illicit Sleet, and I have the honor, the pleasure, it's honestly so easy to do desk with you, man. Dino, I really appreciate being able to be here and spend time with you guys and watch some great Smite like we just did.
Yeah, always a pleasure on my end as well. Well, be sure to join us tomorrow for more exciting AGL playoff action starting at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Actually, it's technically Eastern Daylight Time right now. Anyways, doesn't matter. We'll be here at 5 p.m. You should too. And we'll wish you all a good night.